Good afternoon, good evening, and good day. Welcome back to HeroesCCL presented by Wisdom. My name is Bahamut, joined by Grubby and Justing, and we are here in our ladder bracket playoff, the gauntlet as we also like to call it, for day number 2. We've got a few matches for all of you at home, and we'll see who's going to be able to make their way into the double elimination bracket. But before we start breaking down the ladder bracket and the double elimination bracket, as well as that prizing and all that good stuff, let's catch up with our wonderful friends here. Justing, how are you? How was your little preparation coming into today?
No, it's been good. I'm excited to see what Storm Esports is able to do today, as they were quite dominant yesterday, beating the 3-0'd Chili Mountain and 3-0'ing them. So, yeah, I'm definitely excited. I'm really trying to see how this gauntlet shakes up.
Yeah, there's a lot of fun to happen here. And Grubby, how are you, my friend? Are you ready for another wonderful day of HeroesCCL action?
Happy to be alive and happy to be live, because I had internet problems all day. Luckily, we started early, which meant that we had hours of troubleshooting to do, and we finally reached internet stability, all to be live here with the CCL. So let's hope it keeps up, and so excited about tonight's games. Storm looked absolutely dominant yesterday, and well, Oxygen, they're going to come in fresh. They've been studying it. Their league score was great. So we should have the best playoffs match yet.
We'll get into that in just a second, because I am anticipating. I'm so excited about these matches. But first, as always, let's go ahead and take a look at our prize pool, because we have had some shakeups since yesterday. But as always, this is always the standard. 60% of that prize pool will be going to the players. First place taking 35%. And for example, okay. The 8th place is going to be taking 5th place. So, for example, yesterday, Granite Gaming and Chili Mountain were knocked out in 8th and 7th place. They'll be taking 5% of said 60%. Over on the right-hand side, as always, to be transparent with all of you at home, the remaining 40% will be going back to Wisdom to be able to create graphics, cover the league expenses, as well as run beautiful broadcasts and have the best transitions possible for all of you at home. It's always great to see, like that one, thank you so much. It's always great to see that price will go up, and because of your support, we have hit $11,000, $11,144.20. And if you'd like to donate towards that prize pool, you can use !prize pool. But I'm not done. We're not done talking about prize pool just yet, because Grubby, I believe there's a fun little incentive for somewhere around 15K, maybe even 12, 13, 14.
Yeah, every 1,000 that we reach, I'm going to reveal one more clue as to the song that I would be performing if we reach 15,000. Just a little bit of extra incentive. The main reason, of course, is to support the league, the players, and the health of the CCL, and giving extra prize money to the players for putting in so much effort at presenting you with the best HoTS esports games. But if we reach 15K, I'm going to be unveiling my parody song of Illidan. That was yesterday's little clue. It's a full feature song with yours truly singing the serenade of Illidan's Travails in the Nexus.
And we're really excited about that. And if we can hit 12K today, maybe even 13, we'll find out a little bit more and more about this song. ! Grubby song, I believe, will get you a little information, as well as ! Prize pool over to the match arena. And just really, really exciting stuff. And let's continue this excitement here, Justin. And can you break down what we saw yesterday here on the ladder bracket?
So yesterday we saw Chili Mountain go up against Granite Gaming, and they took them down in a clean 3-0. But then Storm Esports, when they had to meet them, they got taken down 3-0 by Storm Esports. So now we have Storm Esports looking incredibly strong, going up against Oxygen Esports today, and the winner of that will have to face off against Diamond Hands. So at the end of the day today, Diamond Hands will be facing off against either Oxygen or Storm, depending on who wins this next match.
Storm Esports are trying to rally and copy almost what the members of Simplicity did in Season 1. Simplicity was in the exact same spot as Storm Esports and had I would say a god tier run through the gauntlet bracket, dropping, I think, like in totality, like 4 matches all the way into the grand finals. So some really cool stuff. And we'll see if Storm Esports can do that today. But let's go ahead and jump over to the double elimination bracket, Grubby, because I know you love talking about Team TBD.
Team TBD, the one that has been seen always as a dark horse, always coming from out of nowhere, then transforming into an actual team name. No longer to be determined. They're going to be going up against 30K, who are the number 1 in the league standings. Our rank 2 and 3 in the league standings will be facing off one another. That's how the seedings work. that means Simplicity versus Wildheart, which is going to be such a spectacular match. Simplicity, our 2-times winner of CCL Season 1 and 2, and Wildheart, even without Justin, still able to make top 4, which is incredible. They had a really strong start, then took a little bit of time to find their groove again, and then looked strong at the end again. So if they have been scaling up, they should be a force to be reckoned with.
And also to note really quickly, this double elimination bracket, obviously we're going to know who Team TBD is at the end of today. As Justin was saying, we have 2 best of 5s, and it's either going to be Oxygen, Storm, or Diamond Hands who will be in that spot up against 30K. And this double elimination bracket will start on January 15th and 16th next weekend and conclude on the 22nd with the losers finals and grand finals on set 22nd. So just if anyone was curious about how these play days are going to kind of unfold, that is just kind of the schedule. And you can also, I believe, there's probably an exclamation point schedule command as well in Twitch chat that the mods are already getting out there for all of you. If you just want to know more about the future of our weekends for Hero at HeroesCCL. And since we talked about all that, I actually want to mention one more thing really quickly command-wise, and I'm sure the mods are loving how much I'm telling them people to spam things in chat. Exclamation point awards. We do have an award show happening for HeroesCCL Season 3, and it will be taking place on January 29th. That is a Saturday, starting at the normal CCL time, and there's award voting that's already taking place, so make sure you hit that command, get yourself over to the nominations page, and start filling that out. It is always really, really nice to have, well, a ton of nominations, and start getting that voting in, because I don't believe the windows are very large for some of this initial voting. And one more thing before we start getting into rosters, we got to talk about our amazing sponsor, Next Level Gaming, who has joined us here for HeroesCCL Season 3. What is Next Level Gaming? It's a Miami-based LAN center where you can play Heroes of Storm among many other games. And Next Level Gaming has upgraded their hardware quite a bit. They have HP Omens with Intel i7s as well as an RTX 3090. And with all of this amazing hardware, you got to be able to produce some great images. They got 2 monitor choices for you at this LAN center as well. You can get a 24-inch monitor at 240 hertz, or you can get a 32-inch monitor at 144 hertz. So if you'd like to find out more about Next Level Gaming or check them out and maybe even go down for some of the watch parties for HeroesCCL, you can use exclamation point NXT in chat to find out all you can. But now that we've discussed our prize pool, our bracket, we've got everything kind of set up here, I think it's time, Grubby, to start looking at these rosters. Let's start breaking down who are we going to see on the side of Oxygen.
Oxygen Esports for the first time this weekend stepping into action. It's going to be Dreaded Heavy, Madara Uchiha, My Pal Vince, Nazmas, and Pirate Rum. We haven't seen Pirate Rum as much, but we have seen him. He's known for his Mephisto, but there was a game where he didn't play the Mephisto even though he was in the roster. They're going to be playing today a very, very strong roster, and My Pal Vince, kind of a new tank here coming into the CCL, but he's been availing himself very heroically indeed. Heavy, fantastic on the heal, Dreaded, great ranged damage dealer as well.
And on the opposing side of the battleground here, Justin, who are we going to see on the side of Storm Esports?
We see the dominant Storm Esports from yesterday. We've got BBJ playing the support, Dequaza playing the off lane. IB Tings is the main ranged for the team. Lauber plays that tank position, and Rutzo is the flex. And maybe we'll see CPX pop in if they're down 0-2 to show them how it's done. But we've got Rutzo, who has a lot of cool flex picks. Lauber, just a solid tank. BBJ, one of the best aggressive supports in the league. Just overall, a superstar roster here on Oxygen.
Really, really strong rosters that are going to be clashing here in just a few moments. We just want to make sure that you know who's on these rosters. And I like that little comment there, Justin, about CPX. You know, maybe if we end up on Volskaya Foundry, maybe we'll get another Nova game. My bingo card would love a Nova game today. But let's find out where we're going to head to for map number 1, because we got that ready to go. And I'm itching to get into these games. This is going to be really fun, as we have found ourselves here on Tomb of the Spider Queen for our first map chosen by Storm Esports. And if you're wondering how we got to Tomb, let me get you caught up on that one. Oxygen is the home team, and the higher seed have the option, not the coin flip, for first pick or map pick. They chose first pick, and they ban out Infernal Shrines. Storm Esports, they get rid of Sky Temple. And real quick, as always, for all of you stat hounds at home who love to know how these teams have played in the past, Storm Esports are 4-0 on Tomb of the Spider Queen, while the members of Diamond Hands sit 2-3 in their record. So Storm Esports, they're going to start out on a comfort map. It was a little shaky yesterday up against Chili Mountain, though, Grubby. There was a couple moments where I was like, ooh, I wonder if Chili Mountain wins this with that hook stitches, those massive hook stitches plays yesterday.
Yeah, the Gorge plays were pretty good. You had Azurite keep trying to look for some Gorge opportunities. But once the macro turned against his team, it became too obvious where Stitches was going to be. Was it not the moment where they were stood in front of the mid keep and said they're going to go for boss very, very soon?
Mm-hmm.
And then they got stuck there. Sometimes, you know those moments in Storm League where you say, don't engage them, we are in X and Y and Z situation. And we're like, we didn't engage, we got engaged upon. I'm like, it's kind of the same. If you put yourself on the enemy side of the map, you can be engaged on. You're accepting that a fight could potentially happen because someone could get picked. Only safe way is not to be there. Hard to accept sometimes.
I've been in that position quite a bit, but let's talk about the position of these teams right now, Justin, because we have a draft that is flying on out.
So we see the Johanna and Rhaegar being banned out. That's pretty typical. We did see Johanna quite a bit yesterday, which was sort of surprising. Junkrat's banned out by Storm once again. They do opt to very early prioritize the Mephisto and the Stitches, and on Tomb, we've seen both of these being extremely effective. I believe it was Madara on Mephisto in a previous week that just completely popped off on this map, so
yeah.
Oxygen very comfortable with what they've gotten. Both teams pretty happy with what they have. Storm Esports making it seem a little bit obvious that they might be looking to go into some kind of double support here. They don't have to. With the Stukov being picked up by Oxygen, it's not quite as good as it was yesterday for them. They're not going to be able to get the Stukov Uther that they had previously to sort of enable the Vala, but they do have the defensive Blaze paired with the Vala. And it's going to be a little bit difficult for them, though, to sort of evade these hooks. My pal Vince on the Stitches is going to have to show us how it's done in this game if they want to win. He's going to have to hit lots of hooks.
Well, there's that double support. It's not going to be a standard per se, but we have the Zarya coming through, who by role she's actually support because of the changes in Lucio being a healer. But still, it's a double support, and this is going to empower the Vala quite a bit. Dayquaza maybe on the Blaze bottom lane, but Grubby, I need to get your thoughts here as well, because quite a bit has happened in the draft as well.
Yeah, I think what's most interesting that is coming out, emerging here, is that Storm Esports is not going for a standard way to counter a Stitches comp. There have been many different approaches when he came back into the meta a couple of months ago, and one of them is to seven-sided blow him up. Another one is to have a very clear saving button, Medivh or Uther or Anduin, something like that. But to just grab multiple layers of protection via Lucio Zarya, that has been a little bit less common. And basically Storm is going to try to make sure that whoever gets picked by a hook, the whole team can boost in, help him out with a speed barrier from Zarya, with Lucio helping the team catch up, and then trying to stop that Stitches, perhaps with a Garrosh toss.
I really like, actually, a lot of the empowerment into the Vala through the Lucio and Zarya, but also into the Garrosh as well, because you have that walk the Garrosh, the speed from Lucio, the speed barriers you're mentioning, Grubby. So I think this is a really good draft for Storm Esports. I like what Oxygen put together too, but while we're getting ready to load into map number 1, Tomb of the Spider Queen, here on HeroesCCL, we got to get Justing to break down these two drafts and maybe who comes out on top.
So both comps are definitely strong and well-rounded in their own sense, but they're very different. Storm Esports has a very defensive composition, but it is a type of comp that Storm Esports is very comfortable playing. I've said in the past that they thrive in this death ball style composition where they're all kind of just focused on the same target inadvertently, just always being on the same page just because they're all playing these aggressive things that just kind of stick together as a meatball. That does get countered to some extent by Mephisto and Stitches. At any moment, your sort of defensive formation can fall apart if Stitches does hit a good max range hook, and Mephisto very good at punishing that when you are clumping up. So the side of Storm Esports is going to be looking to get picks early game with the Garrosh, with the speed shield from Zarya and the Lucio speed. And outside of that, they are a little bit light on wave clear compared to Oxygen, so I'm expecting Oxygen to be able to, although they do have the weaker tank, be able to kind of control that early game rotations just through their wave clear advantage. And I think if Oxygen is able to kind of keep map pressure across the board, not give away any siege camps bottom, which I think will be a big priority for Storm. If they're able to just keep a constant map pressure with their wave clear advantage, they should be able to snowball through the early game. But teamfight's going to be an interesting dynamic between super aggressive on Oxygen and sort of just defensive death ball style from Storm.
It is looking really strong for Storm Esports. It's hard for me to vote against a Rutso Zarya, but as always, Justin, as we've loaded on in, thank you for your analysis, your breakdown, and we'll see you after the game for more breakdown and information as that little friendly hook comes out from Vince as we've got Oxygen in the blue, Madara on the Mephisto, my pal Vince, or Vince for short, on the Stitches, another little friendly hook right there, Draded on the Lunara, Heavy on the Stukov, Nasmus on the Leoric. Over on the right-hand side, we're looking at Storm Esports. BBJ on the Lucio, Dequaza playing the Blaze, Ivy Tings on the Vala, Lauber to play the Garrosh, and Rutso on his Zarya. I've kind of given my opinion. I'm calling for a Storm Esports win, but I'm sure, Grubby, you've got some thoughts on these drafts for Tomb of the Spider Queen as well.
Yo, this Zarya skin looks like my F. You see that?
I can see it. No, I see it. I see it. Like the head and everything. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. It might be like a Maiev themed skin, but you asked me about the draft.
That's okay.
I think Oxygen's draft looks real good, but then there's Dequaza on the other side, and there's Rutso and Zarya. Normally I would say Oxygen's draft if I didn't look at the players, but just because it's Rutso Zarya, I'm gonna go with Storm here.
Ooh, that's me too. Like, I love what Oxygen put together here, and I kind of skimmed over this, and I feel like maybe all of us kind of skimmed over this. This is also Heby's Stukov. Like, Heby Stukov is, in my opinion, one of the best Stukovs in CCL as well. So it's a very fun dynamic because, of course, we're filtering into our double elimination bracket into next weekend. So the games should become harder and harder and more back and forth, and really they should be tighter. I'm expecting really, really close games in series today. I'm expecting 10 personally in totality when it comes to maps, but that's at least my wishes. I'm sure these teams want to have some quick 3-0s and get to bed and be able to celebrate, but either way, Grubby, it's a pretty standard start to this map as we have a little bit of a scuffle over the Rock Lobsters for bottom lane, and Nasmus is able to Wraithwalk away, but the Siege Giant camp will go over to the side of Storm Esports.
And let's see how much it does, but can we appreciate for a moment here the speed with which Storm Esports can wave clear and rotate?
I love it.
Yeah, and that was the moment of appreciation. It was there, right there. That moment of silence between Bahamut and I, as we wondered who will say the next thing. That was pure appreciation and respect. We already have Siege Camp, we had the mid-wave boom, bot wave boom, Siege Camp, Bruiser. Storm is going like a hurricane through this map as they do the clears, and they should be winning out with the Bruiser Camp here as well. Now, what did Siege Camp do bottom? It killed the entire bottom tower.
Hey, that's still a net gain for that Siege Giant camp. Plus, you get a little bit of experience from grabbing the camp, and I'm actually going to look really quickly, seeing what the mercenary experience. It's about 300 difference between the two teams, a little bit less than that, but we're going to round up on that caster math right there, as there's a big lurking arm from Stukov. Keep in mind, Heby did go into that low blow, so anyone affected by the lurking arm below 50% will take 125% more damage from lurking arm.
Damn.
And it can seem like, oh, it's just, that's not that much more. Well, we've seen people get shredded by that low blow level 1, and even teams are screaming about it half the time, but Madara is going to get thrown around right now. That's a very low Vala, and First Blood will go over to the side of Oxygen, and I don't know if they're done just yet, but Madara definitely is.
Repeatedly, everyone on Storm is dropping mega low. They have these engagements, and this time they did manage to get Madara to be quite low in himself as well. But you just get this sense. You may not see every single ability, every single auto attack, but you just get this sense that Storm enters a fight and everyone's getting hurt and has to run for their miserable lives. Lunara and Mephisto together, even Stitches, adding what little he can, and of course Heby, they're putting out so much damage on everyone simultaneously. It's all that Storm can do just to try and stay alive, and in this case, that was the first blood on Vala. Oxygen looking very strong here at the level 1 to 7 mark.
I would absolutely agree, and 10 talent here could be huge as well if the momentum does continue, but that momentum might stall for a second. Madara gets over the wall with the Shade Mephisto with 70-something HP. Lucio does finish out his level 4. Lauber's very low. He's going to try and back away. The barrier comes through, the speed boost as well, and Lauber's out with 300-something HP. Want to quickly note as well, Vala did go Krita the Hunter at level 1. While she does have 57 stacks out of 300, so she's got 1% right now out of the 6 total, she has lost 5% off of the 25% bonus attack speed. So currently, her Gambit sitting at 20%. We'll keep you up to date on that number as the game does progress, if she does fall any further into the game. But I think the scaling for the Vala is going to be critical for Storm Esports. That's a wonderful friendly hook to save Madara, but does it actually? Lucio, BBJ goes in, and Vala does get the revenge kill. Heavy trying to back away. Lauber is almost able to set up the CC, but it's still Zarya coming through. Grubby, Storm Esports clapping back with 2 kills of their own.
Very, very nice kills there by Storm. They stuck in there, they kept everyone alive, and they found an opportunity to get a nice advantage. With 68 gems in the bank, it would have been possible for them to try and create a situation where they pay. However, most of those gems are on Dayquaza. They decided the delay of trying to gatekeep his turn-in was not worth it, considering they would have to go from top to the bottom pay point, and they decided instead saying, we'll get these gems eventually, but let's work on what really matters in the now. What will always matter. Take down these 2 towers. Guaranteed value over a delayed push that maybe gets value. And that's one lesson I hope many Storm Leaguers will learn. Got buildings available to be killed? Do it. It's the number 1 objective.
Wait, I thought that the spiders were the objective.
They are a means to an end. Right?
Got you,
Building
got you.
killing is the end.
I do want to talk about the objective, but I might pause that because we have a fight breaking out. Dayquaza getting very low. Lurking Arm does come out, but the Jet Propulsion is in time. Speed Barrier onto Lauber as he considers to jump back in. Maybe he's just creating a little bit of space away from the enemy members of Oxygen. I want to get your thoughts here, Grubby. We're seeing 2 kind of tactics right now in the sense of Storm, they are putting a lot of gems onto the Blaze and the Garrosh, as well as a little bit onto Lucio, but if we look at the side of Oxygen, the vast majority, if not all of their gems, sit in the hands of Vince. I say that, and he turned in quite a few right there. But I want to get your thoughts. Like, some teams are just like, that's a Warlord's challenge with the 10 talent tier advantage over the side of Storm Esports. Vince is getting very low. IB Tings has the sustained damage. 20 gems. Oh, no. So this is the question that I wanted to get to. What are your thoughts on putting... Oh, Madara.
Took him.
Oh, no, Madara. No, Madara.
Heavy, go get him. Go get him, Heavy. No, Heavy.
No, Heavy, don't do it.
No.
We were joking, Heavy.
No, I wasn't joking.
Oh,
You're joking.
Either
Oh,
way.
no, you know what? Heavy went in there, same idea I had. You know, one thing on his mind. Food. No, one thing on his mind. Gems. He picks them up. You know Wrecking Ball isn't back yet for Garrosh. You're like, it's cool. You know, Wrecking Ball isn't back. I'm going to go behind my fort. In comes BBJ. Got that quest, got the range, got the extra pushback. And now we get to see whether Lucio can help to counter here. There's the high five stopping the Durance from Mephisto. Very nice job there. Now we get to see that in action. But he gets yoinked back in. Lauber, 28 gems.
Oh, Lauber, he should go down right here. He will. Nasmus will be traded. Rutzo does pick up the gems that Lauber did drop on the ground. IB Tings continues to dump in the damage and building up those auto attacks on the Creed of the Hunter, level 1, 118 right now. Lauber with his Groundbreaker at level 1, Warbreaker at level 1, 13 out of 15. He does have the first portion of the quest with the additional damage over time. Once he hits that 15 mark, you get a 2-second cooldown on your Groundbreaker, which takes it to 6 seconds. Oh,
Let's take a look at that moment again of that replay. We can roll it back one more time. It's never enough just to see it once. I want to see the gem moment. So here's Stitches, right? Look at BBJ. He goes in. See how far he pushes Stitches back. Right, he goes in. Oh, never mind. We have a fight going on right now. Lucio, Mephisto dead. Dayquaza running away with Speed Barrier. Heavy goes down again.
So I'll recap for anyone that might have missed it, and we apologize, because like these teams literally, it seemed like they were in the lull moment where it's like, okay, no fighting right now. But what ended up happening right there for the Lucio to die is Mephisto stepped forward, launched Endurance of Hate into the face of BBJ, and the collapse was in from the rest of Oxygen. And at that point, with Mephisto being so far forward, it was actually a counter kill into Mephisto for the same thing. I will say this, I did miss how the Stukov did die towards the end of that one, but still we have Red Web Weaver summoned to the side of Storm Esports, and we will see how much value they get. Here comes a toss on an Asmus. Decent damage is out. Zarya, Expulsion Zone to zone back Draded, or at least maybe keep Draded in, and Lauber gets hit with the Entomb, but he gets hit with a Speed Barrier on top of that and is able to just walk out of any sort of damage, finishing out his level 1 questing talent for that 2-second cooldown on his Groundbreaker.
Yeah, maybe we will watch some of these moments after the game again in the highlight reel, because this game is full of highlights. We can just roll back the whole game when this game is done. It's one full set of highlights. We've got 11 kills in just 9 minutes. In Storm Esports, they still have a bit of a web weaver in the bottom lane. Half-life, actually, not too bad at all. It's going to go to the gate. It's going to start killing towers. It's got one wave, a couple of spider babies. Meanwhile, how do they position themselves? Currently, they're not showing on the map. The Wisp is here. What is that level 1 Wisp talent? Sentinel. So it ends up revealing everybody. The surprise is up. Oxygen is going to be looking to maybe do a hook gorge abduction.
Yeah, I'm looking at Heavy's positioning. He's ready to kind of throw a lurking arm out at any point, and also being safe behind that wall from any sort of threat from Lob or consistent damage from Ivy Tings. And it's even talent tiers, but there's that level difference. Turn-in availability exists again for the side of Storm Esports. Rutso, 47. The hook goes out onto Dequaza. The Gorge will land. Rutso does get 47 in. That's a nice push-off onto Vince, and we have heavy casters as well for the stun. BBJ getting chunked, is able to heal up a little bit, get some barrier value from Rutso. That's a wonderful Entomb, kind of locking Lobber into an awkward spot, and Dequaza as well, who gets the jet propulsion right away. Hook once again connects onto Dequaza. That is an into the fray, out of this fray, into the fray once again, a wrecking ball from the Lobber. Ivy Tings is trying to throw in the damage. BBJ has to push off and speed out of here, and it seems like, oh, wow, that was a really good high five. Wait, is it self-cleanse barrier too? Yeah.
He high-fived himself.
Yes, unstoppable competitor. Personal barrier makes Zarya unstoppable up to 2 seconds. But I did see BBJ going for the high five, but another fight breaks out. There's going to be a toss onto Vince. Vince is taking so much damage. He's living with that level 1 extra healing. That 15. Oh, I thought he was going to be able to get out of there, but no, it's not the case. BBJ is still stepping in. Madara is the new target, who is going to go over the wall with the Shade of Mephisto. The Durance of Fate was attempted, but it's going to be a double kill, maybe a triple kill. Is there a push off from BBJ? Lobber is going to pop the Indomitable, but the Entomb comes out. Big lurking arm. Might be Leoric to go down. No, he's Wraith walking right out of there. And another objective phase to the side of Storm Esports, who, I gotta say, are zooming through this map.
Fun comment here in chat of Twitch. How does Storm make every disciplined pro team almost seem like brawling Pepegas?
Oh my god. The savagery today.
Well, yeah, but it does feel a bit like that, right? Storm,
absolutely.
They've got this hectic style, and they're dragging people into their influence zone. That is... I don't think there's a way out there for Zarya.
Maybe bottom lane, maybe they sidewall, maybe Copium?
Big case of Copium there. That was a sick hook gorge. Nice to take a little bit of the wind out of the sails of Storm here.
But as I'm looking at the... Oh, Lobber, you are just really rushing up right there. As I look at some of the gem count, realistically, Storm Esports, they could walk in this bottom lane and then just go and wait around turn-in and look for another turn-in. But as I take stock of what's at the top of our screen, it's 15 to 16, and there's going to be a toss on to Vince. Warlord's Challenge, Reign of Vengeance, big burst from Ivy Tings. He's trying to find the last little bit of damage, but the flailing swipes from Heavy are too good. Lurking Arm and an Entomb. That's a great hook onto Ivy Tings. You are going down, Vala, and another stack of the Creed of the Hunter will fall, as that is going to be 15% remaining on that bonus attack speed after 2 deaths on Vala.
Wow, that was a really nice hook there by Stitches. Of course, actually, it was mostly Leoric that set that up. Nasmas with that tomb catching 2. Heavy's silencing circle was a little bit off on the side, so it almost looked like it wasn't going to be enough. Of course, generally... Oh, hold that thought. Another fight is breaking out. Lobber is looking for a kill here.
Hook goes in from Stitches. There's going to be a big slam on the ground, but it's only going to deal damage to Leoric, as we do have Vala still dead for 9 seconds. This feels insanely greedy, and it's going to get punished by Heavy's lurking arm. Low blow. Stun from Boss. Madara taking too much damage. Really good play from Dequaza on the Blaze. Boss will leash. Gorge onto Lucio. Can BBJ get out of this? He's like 50% HP. Maybe he can high five. Nope. Okay. Slam from
Really
Stitches.
nice,
He's got level 16.
Great flailing swipe from Heavy. He does one more low blow. Flailing swipe from Heavy prevented any fallback points for high five. The boss remains untaken. 2 victims have fallen to fight over it. Now goes down to Ivy Tings' chase.
This is insane, Grubby.
There's so many kills. The hook was good direction, but short by just a few yards. And the fight goes on. Now, there is, let's see, 2 catapult, 1 catapult in the bottom lane that is not being pushed out. No, none of the forts. In fact, only one tower has fallen for Storm here.
Wow.
That's the degree to which they are ahead structurally. And it doesn't seem like even one singular Gorge kill every now and then is enough to stop Storm.
No, it's a bloodbath right now. It's a lot of good back and forth, and as always, people love to know the catapult damage. The one that was on the bottom lane in front of the keep was dealing 456 damage to structures. That is already doubled for all of you who are wondering, from the base like 250 something. But either way, it's Storm Esports. They are showing in this rotation to boss. They tapped wave and then rotated up to boss. It should be clear to Oxygen what the game plan is, but Oxygen, I think they're going to take advantage of this moment and get it turned into deep pressure these waves and try and push out the map a little bit, gain control on the macro end of things. And maybe, Grubby, do you want to listen in to Oxygen, maybe see how they're playing the Stitches composition?
Yep, that should be great. We haven't heard from them yet this weekend.
Into Oxygen we go.
They're going to be 20 pretty far ahead of us. I don't know if they'll have turn in as soon as they are, though.
We won't.
No, will they?
It's close.
I don't think they were.
Probably not quite.
We won't be able to push with this though.
Yeah, that's fine. We don't see them right now.
Yeah, I'm chilling.
They're probably coming top. Maybe we could look for a Gorge off the clear.
Yeah, I'm trying to look for
Yeah,
something.
they're bottom.
Okay, we can tank another turn in. There's no
Yeah, it'll
buff
be a
on-
little hard, but
Like another wave top.
Let's not get picked in the middle of the map.
yeah, it would suck. I mean, we could look for a Gorge.
It's hard.
It's a little far out, but yeah.
I'm on my mount up.
Okay. They're 20 now. We're only one level to go, actually. This is, and they're not even turning yet. We just soaked 20.
Yeah, chilling.
You're far. Like they will zoom at you and
Yeah, I'm chilling now.
Careful, bot. I mean, they've still got like a couple waves to grab. We can let them push it to us.
Yeah.
Care for the Zarya bubble. He could just sprint around the corner at you.
Yeah.
One of the things that I do really like about what we heard in the Oxygen comms is something that you and I, Grubby, were talking about in different comms yesterday about some teams were talking about what they want to do, but they weren't being cautious at all. And I really like hearing you're too far out mid, they'll zoom at you. And I think that is a really good way to define the draft that Storm Esports has put together. It is, and I made the joke that they're zooming around the map, but even Oxygen's feeling the pressure of the speed that Storm Esports can kind of get around and even rush into the face of said members of Oxygen. IB's just getting stacks.
Nice, another 4 stacks. He's at 187, 2 deaths, not too bad at all. That's more damage than he started with. So, Stitches in the bush. He wants to do some kind of hook. And I think they saw one of his hooks going mid, so they knew that he was looking in that area recently. That was an area where he could be, where he would actually have time to hook Gorge, and then, okay, is that gonna be enough? I don't think it is enough, but is it? It was close. You know, without Zarya's shields, that might have been Lauer dead.
Also, the high five from Lucio was really critical right at the end of that as well. And keep in mind, Lucio does have the mixing fire as well, so he can now target enemies and reduce the healing that Oxygen can get. With Stitch is dead for the next 27 seconds, and Webweaver is actually descending quite far into the waves. Storm Esports are looking to pull the trigger on game number 1. Toss onto Lunara. Draded's going to get hit with the Warlord's Challenge. There's a lot of damage going into Draded, and Draded will be falling to the Vala sustained damage. A lot of damage going into Lauber as well. He's around 600 HP. Expulsion Zone comes out as well. There's a lot of really low Storm Esports members that could be cleaned up, but Madara will return to his origin point. Heavy getting pushed around by the high fives of Lucio. BBJ and friends have managed to push up this mid wave, get a mid keep. Top keep has gone down, bottom keep has gone down as well. Lunara dead for 42, Stitches back, and it seems like Storm will call the back off unless this is actually a bait that they're leaving.
Yeah, it looks like it. Lauber goes back in, he gets the speed barrier. Oh,
Good
nice
flail.
flailing swipe there by Heavy to stop that.
But it's not over just yet. Draded still dead for the next 25 seconds on Lunara. There's a Gorge onto Lauber at the top of our screen who's going to be put right in front of the core. That necrotic wave coming out as well, dealing a little bit of damage to him as the bunker does come down. And Asmus is going to be the new target for Vala, and Ivy Tings is just crushing with this Vala. 231 stacks and rising as the core is starting to lose shielding here. Taunt onto Vince, he's going to get very low. It looks like Vince will fall as well. Some staggered deaths as Lunara does respawn. The fight continues, Grubby. Grubby. A lot of low members of Storm Esports as Lauber and Blaze will fall.
Madara!
Oh, BBJ, you need to get Zoomin out of here, and he will not. As 4 members fall, 73% remains on the Oxygen core, and Vala, IB Tings is able to back away, not losing another stack, still at that 25%, or excuse me, 15%.
Dude, Madara was slaughtering them.
Yarp.
That
God.
Yarp. I learned a new word.
I recently
it's
rewatched
crazy.
Hot Fuzz, and it's from that one. I'm not gonna take credit for that one. But either way, you know what? We got a little bit of time, Grubby. Can we break down what just happened?
Yeah, let's just all agree to just look at Madara with Mephisto. He's got that double shade. So where is Madara? He's over the core. Okay, hits a skull missile. Yeah. Look at Madara. Look at Madara. Hopefully, we're gonna see his magical moment.
Oh, it's coming
As
up
he
right
jumps
here.
in, he's gonna get static barrier. Look at that. Look at that. Vala's not getting hit yet. He can go in again. There we go. There we go. See those double circles? He's chasing Vala away. Another one coming in. Boom! Double circles. He's destroying Blaze and Garrosh at the same time. Now chasing Vala as well. Chasing Zarya, in fact, and taking her down. So sick. So much damage. So many circles to dodge. And what's best is, after he killed all those, he had over 7,000 life, 4,400 baseline, and a massive shield that he got from static barrier. So he did all that without the benefit of Spite, the level 4 talent that gives more CDR. He earned all his CDR, not from a regeneration globe, but from auto attacks and from PvP ability connections. Now, question is that going to be enough? Generally, when a 0-4 team wipes a 6-4 team, you need at least one more wipe or several advantageous fights. Usually, I feel like you need 3 wins. They have 1. Can they put a second one on the board?
Well, the fight will break out. Leorc does Wraith walk in to reduce some of the damage. Vince is getting very low. A big Entomb comes out. The bunker's down from the Blaze, and Garrosh gets inside, but a huge jet propulsion out of the... Oh my god, that was such a dirty jet propulsion. It shouldn't even be allowed in CCL, but still Vince is going to try and walk away. Nasmus does go down. The left-hand side of the screen, Zarya and Lucia have chased down the Lunara, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 pentakill to the side of Storm Esports. They wipe the members of Oxygen off of Tomb of the Spider Queen. They rush to this Oxygen core. The Orc's ghost is all that remains. The core will fall, and Storm Esports will be victorious in map number 1 in our first best of 5 of the day. As a reminder, we are in the gauntlet. There's no bottom bracket. This is the bottom bracket, per se. And if you lose your best of 5, you are done for the season. And right now, Storm Esports, they're bringing Fury and Flame to this fight. It was really well played, really well controlled, and great back and forth. We said it yesterday that today's games were going to be really good, and we're in map number 1, and Grubby, I'm already sold that today is going to be a fantastic day here on HeroesCCL.
Yeah, very entertaining game, Bahamut. 22 versus 11 kills in 22 minutes of game time. That's 1.5 kills per minute. We've been spoiled with bloodshed.
I love it.
Man, Storm really wiped Oxygen there. And what's interesting is the boss still had 30,000 HP as it broke through the top keep. So if Oxygen wins that fight, even in a 3 versus 1, they're going to end the game. They're going to win that. So they didn't need a second and a third victory. They just needed one more. But their only actual major victory in the game, it set them up for the situation. They couldn't get a second one. Massive stun from Dequaza. Justin, what happened there?
So, Oxygen, it did feel like in team fights they were just getting mostly outplayed by Storm, and their tools are there, but their comp was a little bit awkward. You could tell that if Stitches lands a hook, it takes a big effort still to even kill whatever target they hook, especially when Garrosh seemed to be wearing most of those hooks through most of the game. You don't really have any tools to kill Garrosh when he gets low outside of Leoric with Drain, and typically Leoric isn't playing in the same part of the fight as the Stitches is in most situations. Most of the time the Leoric is either like pressuring the back line or kind of setting up like a second front line for his team. Like he's not typically standing in the same place as Stitches. So you could tell that Lauber was getting pretty low, but they didn't really have any tools to finish him off and actually get the kills on him. Vince also just wasn't quite respecting the Garrosh enough. It is a very bad matchup for Stitches. Garrosh is probably the best tank to play into Stitches just because you can be super aggressive. Stitches really has no tools to escape if he gets thrown in. So in the early game, it was working pretty well for Oxygen overall. Vince wasn't really a target because Laubert didn't choose to hook him early game because they have light damage. Vala is their only real damage, so it's hard to kill Stitches early. But once Vala starts getting those stacks, and Ibitings was stacking like a machine with his level 1 talent, with his auto attack build, eventually they get to the point where Stitches becomes kind of a detriment if he's ever caught out of position, and the Garrosh was doing that quite well. Also, there's just so many defensive tools from Storm that they don't need to really engage themselves unless it's like really high probability play for them. For the most part, they just have so many tools. They have the ally toss, they have bunker, they have high five, they have Zarya. All of these things make it very, very difficult for Oxygen, who has a very slow damage AoE focused composition. They don't have great single target damage. So even if they hit the hook, more so their strategy would have needed to be just hit the hook just to bait Storm to come in to try to save that target. And they would have needed to immediately swap focus onto somebody else or just play a slower game around the hooks. They were kind of using a little bit too much resources to try to get the one shot on whoever they hooked. And if you do that against Storm's comp with all that single target defense and with your comp having pretty light single target damage, it's just really hard to play the Stitches comp in that game. Storm played it really well. They were saving people when it didn't seem like it was possible for them to be saved. There were a lot of times where the hook gorge looked good. It looked like it was going to get a kill and it didn't. Thanks to Lucio and Zarya and the rest of just the defensive tools, the ally toss from Garrosh. And they almost threw the game when Madara almost saved it at core with the Mephisto pop-off where it was a 4-for-2. They did get the 70% core, they get the boss turn-in, but they're desperate at that point, they don't have any keeps, and so they think the best thing for them to do is to just push top, which is okay, but they kind of needed to check their flank a bit more. They do get caught out there. My pal Vince got thrown real far from his team, and when the fight starts like that with a Stitches comp, it's just really hard to come back against the never-ending swarm of Storm Esports with their composition.
You're so right. And actually, we didn't get to mention it because the map, as Grubby and I were saying throughout the cast, was just so chaotic and everything was evolving so very quickly. There was a point where Dequaz on that Blaze in the top lane you were mentioning, where there's the massive flank, Dequaz was kind of selling the idea that, oh, I'm just here to defend. And then I was looking at the minimap. What they did on the side of Storm was they cleared mid, and as the mid vision for the side of Oxygen was going away, Storm was actually on the trajectory to go bottom and clear that out. So it looked like Storm was not even trying, but then they double back and go into that flank. It was so perfectly played because Blaze sold the entire idea that, hey, I'm all here by myself. I'm just trying to poke at this wave with my flame streams and my oil. So I think Storm Esports are really operating on a fantastic level and a higher level as well. And Oxygen, they really got to start matching up to the speed and potential of Storm Esports, because right now, loving what we saw from game number 1, but it's not over by any means. It's a best-of-5 series, and I believe we can start finding out where we're going to go to for our second map in said series, and it has just been insane. And I got to ask Grubby, as we're about to get into the map stuff, do you have any takeaways from that map as well? Because I'm sure you got a few comments on as well.
Yeah, I get a really strong power level from Storm here because there's two ways to approach a match, and one of them is with a perspective of trying to counter your opponent, trying to see how they play and coming up with the counter strategically. And then there's to just look at my muscles kind of strength. and usually when you do that, the second style, which is what I'm feeling from Storm, you're just like, these are our strengths. You feel a lot more comfortable because not everything comes down to whether your estimation of how your opponent is going to react becomes true or not. You already know you're zooming, you're strong, and that gives a lot of confidence, and I think we're going to see that continue to shine. I don't see Storm weakening up in the next game. It doesn't come down to some kind of special draft. They're taking all the things they're known for, BBJ Lucio, Rotso Zarya. So I think they're going to look really tough, and Oxygen, they've got a challenge for themselves, that's for sure.
It's definitely going to be a challenge, and we can actually find out where the next challenge is going to be because we know what map we're going to be heading off to, and it will be the map choice of Storm Esports as the side of Oxygen Esports opting in for first pick priority as the losing side from map number 1. Stats, as always, for these maps, we have the side of Oxygen's record for Battlefield of Eternity. They are 3-3, 50% win rate. And over on the side of our wonderful Storm Esports, they are 0-3. So Storm Esports are choosing to take us to a map that they are winless on. Maybe they can shake things up here. But as we get into this map, Justin, I got to get your thoughts. Does this play really, really well into what Storm has already kind of showcased on map number 1 too?
So Storm can do a similar composition, but probably not exactly the same. Storm really likes these Deathball comps, and double support itself isn't great on this map. It's definitely doable if you get a good enough hyper carry if they do get that Vala again. But in general, the easiest way to play this map is to play for poke and to just kind of play around vision. Whereas if you are trying to play this Deathball style composition, you have to fight the enemy off of their own immortal in order to get it. So it's a much safer strategy to play for poke. Storm Esports being aware of that, they banned Hanzo, which is one of the two, I guess 3 now that Lunara is more viable as a poke hero. You have Hanzo, you have Li Ming, and you have Lunara. So I would expect one of those to be prioritized for Oxygen. And Storm understands that, because a Hanzo ban first like this isn't typical by any means. So they're going to try to kind of force Oxygen out of playing that super easy playstyle with just poke. So whatever Oxygen picks first will kind of give away what they're looking to do. One thing that could be kind of weird that we could see potentially is possibly a Samuro from Nazmaz. These matches, they're starting to get close to the point where, I mean, their back's against the wall soon. They're down 0-1 in the series. It is single elimination in the gauntlet, so if Nazmaz wants to show off his kind of special tricks, this would be where you do it. That being said, it's pretty hard when there's a Johanna already being picked on the other side.
But as you foretold, there's the poke hero in Li Ming, and what are your thoughts on this Battlefield draft as we're getting to another ban phase, Grubby?
We got a little bit of a setup here for Oxygen to do a single target burst. Varian and Li Ming have long been a classical combination. She can't miss her magic missiles, so I'll be very disappointed if she doesn't go Wearable Seekers and Glass Cannon when Varian taunts someone. Depends, of course, if there's going to be a cleanse or not. And I only say that half jocularly. But they're a strong combo together, and Li Ming is one of the poke heroes that are so good, which Justin said is the safest way to play this map, and I 100% agree. Li Ming's best map, Battlefield of Eternity, and Hanzo is the other one that's so good at poking. So a great setup for Oxygen, with leaning towards single target burst, but remember, Li Ming can clean up if a single target goes down, so she can be a hyper carry if the draft allows for it.
Also, we have the availability of Rhaegar going into Ancestor Healing to save anyone who's really going to get chunked by the... I'm kind of hoping for a Blessed Shield, Rain of Vengeance combo, and then I wonder if Joanna actually goes into, I think it's the level 7 Punishment, which gives you healing reduction, so you maybe could actually reduce the healing of the incoming Ancestor Healing. I think it's like 30% on the punish. I'm not 100% on that one, but Justin, there's a lot still happening. Got to get your big breakdown as we're going to get into the final picks of Oxygen.
Yeah, I think Oxygen is being punished quite heavily for showing their cards so early by picking up that Varian. The Li Ming makes sense to take early. Li Ming on Battlefield of Eternity, that doesn't really show anything. But when you pick the Varian here, it opens up the possibility of a potential double support with Uther. Johanna used to be really weak with double support because she didn't do any damage, and she was also pretty bad into double support for the same reason. But now Johanna does a ton of damage, and you can enable her as almost a second hyper carry, so I wouldn't be surprised to see just a mouth picked up. They went out of their way on the side of Oxygen to ban out 3 supports, but I think that last support, the Anduin, really needed to be an Uther, and we're seeing it immediately picked up by Rutzo. And now they get to choose whether they want to play solo heal Uther or not, so this is just really good drafting coming out from Storm Esports. I think they've pretty much gotten everything they want, and IBTings has shown in the past, as there's the Brightwing, there's the double support. It's not Mouth, I think this is still fine, but IBTings having a great time with this, and Varian's main weakness is it's so telegraphed that they want to play for one-shots, especially with the Chromie coming out, the double mage.
Yeah.
They have no sustain damage. They have Li Ming, Chromie, that's it. Follow up on Varian. You have the spell armor now from Brightwing, on top of the Uther, who can even go into the armor at level 7 if he wants. I think Storm kind of just taking full advantage of such a linear telegraphed comp coming out from Oxygen. I think it's just the picking the Varian that early is just a pretty big mistake, I'd say, because they get the Uther, they get the Brightwing, double support, enabling a Johanna as well. Like I said, the Johanna in previous patches would have had to have been something like a Sonya or maybe a Hogger, something that does a lot more damage, but now Johanna does just as much damage as they do, especially when she's got double support behind her. So while they do have the harder playstyle, they don't have the poke, they have to kind of fight past the Immortal, and that's going to be what they're looking to do. I'd be pretty worried for Oxygen right now if I was them, because there's just no sustained damage into a double support composition.
And there's really also a lot of shutdown into the Oxygen side. You Polymorph, Rain of Vengeance if picked at level 10. A Condemn from Johanna kind of throws things off a little bit. Uther stuns, Blaze Jet Propulsion. I'm very much leaning into the Storm Esports draft as well, but we can still be surprised. Heavy on Rhaegar is something we haven't talked about. Nasmus gets a Yrel, so there is still a lot of good control between the slows of Rhaegar, Yrel with her Righteous Hammer. You also can get Templar's Verdict, I believe it is, which is going to be armor reduction off of your Righteous Hammer hits, and I think that plays well into the Chromie Li Ming, so they can burst someone down. Variant get Mortal Strike, which reduces incoming healing. Maybe you can reduce not entire, but 40% of a Brightwing phase shift. So a lot of cool stuff to happen here. Justin, thank you for breaking everything down for us, and we will see you after Battlefield of Eternity, because we are loaded on in, ladies and gentlemen, and let's go ahead and introduce our two teams here on Battlefield of Eternity in our first best of 5 of the day. On the left-hand side, we have Oxygen, Heavy on the Rhaegar, Nasmus on the Yrel, Madara to play the Chromie, Draded to play the Li Ming, and Vince will be on the Varian. Over in the red, we have the members of Storm Esports. Ivy Ting's on the Vala, BBJ on the Brightwing, Lauber to play the Joanna, Rutso on the Uther, and Dequaza once again on the Blaze. Now, what do you think, Grubby, as we have loaded on in? You've heard Justin and I thoughts. I'm calling for a Storm Esports win. What do you think?
Yeah, I understand the double mage play by Oxygen because it effectively tries to circumvent the blinds that Johanna is offering. As a Samuro or a Greymane, you're never too happy to pick it into a known Johanna quantity. So that I kind of get. And there is also the healing debuff from Varian that can stop both Uther and Brightwing's rather big heals sometimes, like Brightwing's phase shift and Uther's large the Q heal anyway.
Yeah.
But then there is all those forms of armor, spell armor and straight up armor, and that makes it a little tougher. I think Storm has the easier comp to play. I think they have more ability to adapt to enveloping situations because they have actual sustained damage. They can be very meted out, whereas Li Ming and Chromie cannot always respond to a position because they are very much more cooldown based. And for this, I think statistically it's more likely that Storm will win this draft, even when not looking at the player's strength or the results of the previous game. But as always, we'll let the players do the talking through their actions. May the best team win.
Good luck to both teams, as always, and we can see, just as we actually have BBJ being targeted, is able to kind of float away from any sort of incoming combo of Li Ming with that Arcane Orb. Phase Shift will be utilized as well, and the camp over to the side of Storm Esports. We sit killless so far in our Battlefield of Eternity map. After seeing so much bloodshed on Tomb of the Spider Queen with like 33 total kills, 11 to 22, I'm itching for more deaths here, Grubby. I need to see some kills. It's been too long. It's almost 2 minutes. Where's a kill?
Yeah, we had 1.5 per minute in the previous game. But of course, Tomb of the Spider Queen is one big ARAM. All three lanes are closer together than even halfway the map here. So
that is so true.
I think that is true. So Oxygen, they make use of this known rotation top, where Storm goes for the Khazra Impaler and they start doing structural damage. Makes you wonder if it was worth it, leaving just 2 here to get those topside Khazra Impalers. A tower is a pretty hefty loss. For instance, if you don't lose bottom tower, you can leave a bruiser camp pushing your gate and it won't do anything, even when it's one wave versus one wave. Many people want to clear the bruiser camp before the objective begins, but it's not actually important if no one is pushing with it into double tower. Now that there's one tower, defense is required. So Storm will have a few people, a little bit fewer people ready to contest immortal fights as they are forced to be here 20 seconds from now. It's something that may come into play, depending how it goes.
It's actually kind of funny. I'm looking at the experience breakdown, and Blaze actually got a little bit of siege in top lane. So when we look at the structure experience, it's exactly the same. Passives the same, minions the same. The difference is mercenaries. That's why we see a little bit of a lead, closer to 7 talent here for the side of Storm Esports, is because they've gotten the top and bottom Impaler camp. They got their own camp on the right-hand side, but the fight will start breaking out around Belith, and it seems like the first half of the Immortal phase will be going over to the side of Storm Esports as Ivy Tings was able to sit there and auto-attack his way through Alarian, our blue immortal on the right-hand side. But now we do have Rutso coming in to try and stall out some of this race. Ivy Tings is not going to be able to win this race since Lauber and the rest of Storm Esports are currently just over here hanging out, trying to slow down this potential from Oxygen as the phase shift from BBJ does come through. Rutso getting very low right now. The targeting is going to be onto Nasmus. Nasmus getting very low. There's going to be a stun from the Uther as well. Polymorph does come through, and Nasmus is able to get the Avenging Wrath away.
Pretty cool disengage. Nobody died. We had a few people dropping fairly low. But Yrel managed to get away despite all the stuns in the world. That physical armor really helping out there. As well as Vala missing, right? Because it's basically double tank, double healer. Oxygen gets the first immortal. Even with their double mage comp that quote-unquote lacks sustained damage, they manage to have enough spells peppering it as they get the first immortal. And that gets them a couple of towers. Romy's being chased here. Polymorph, he sacrifices himself, basically. Maybe he can get one more shot on the keep. Okay, he shot at Vala.
That was... Sorry, it was just the idea of it's Chromies. It's like I'll dive on the grenade for you, Oxygen. Run. It's just I know it's comical to me, but
not the
either
hero
way,
you expect that from. But
exactly.
He was already too isolated. Should be noted that there is actually a pretty decent race by Oxygen, all things considered, after analyzing all that, because they do have 2 DPS and they have Rhaegar, who does good damage for a healer, more than Uther Brightwing to be sure. And on the other side, there's only 1 DPS, so. Oxygen does have the poke on the Immortal, and they do have the 2 ranged DPS. In that sense, Storm will always have the pressure to perform a proper defense of the objective.
Wondering how the tables turn at level 10, because we also are going to be seeing maybe like a half a level lead in favor for the side of Storm Esports, maybe 3/4 of a level because of just the constant camps being grabbed. And in top lane, actually, Joanna's rotating up. I don't know if Uther and Joanna can kill Yrel, but they're just putting pressure into the lane and also just zoning for the Vala. Thanks to our observer for catching that, because I wasn't sure if Nasmus was actually being threatened by any means.
Yeah, not so much right now. Let's look at this level 7. Yesterday we saw Divine Steed for Yrel. Now it's going to be Fast Moving Hammer. It seems to be quite popular among most of the NA teams. Walking around with that hammer, with that bonus movement speed instead of a debuff. We see Slowing Sands coming out for Chromie. Seems about right. Too many layers of single target protection to try and get anything out of Temporal Loop besides just the CDR that it offers.
Oh my god, and that's going to be Iron Skin forced by the Joanna to back away. And not only that, I mean, you've got Soothing Mist from Brightwing, you've got Joanna Ironskin, you've got Uther with his own Hand of Protection, Blaze, I mean, at 10-11 Bunker, which is basically anyone can jump in the bunker, so it's just, I agree. And also, Slowing Sands on a map like this really, it can funnel enemies through specific areas, so you can kind of control where your enemy steps into you a little bit. Kind of like on Towers of Doom, when you take down the bell tower and there's those bottom lane bell tower objective phases, you're able to control where the enemy rotates into said objective. But let's talk about this battlefield engagement, because here comes a little bit of damage onto Vince, who's going to be able to actually re-engage onto Rutso. The taunt was utilized as well, 10-second cooldown onto that. There's going to be a Jet Propulsion from Dayquaza. Polymorph as well will connect onto Vince. A lot of damage being prioritized into Vince, but no, the targeting changes onto Heavy. Can he get away? Jet Propulsion from Blaze, and Heavy does go down. Another kill over to the side of Storm Esports, and Ivy Tings is just sitting here auto-attacking after auto-attack. It's only 40 stacks, but still, it's good sustained damage, 3 kills, 10 talent tier, no blessed shield, Falling Sword, another cleansing tool for so much incoming lockdown from the side of Oxygen Esports. I'm loving what we're seeing here, Grubby.
Yeah, very nice job there by Storm. I think Rutso took a very aggressive position with his Uther, and he felt comfortable doing that. I wasn't sure if it was going to work out. I played quite a bit of Uther, and he can feel very fragile sometimes. But he knew exactly what he was doing, even walking considerably through the Slowing Sands in order to try and get that kill. And it worked out. He's truly an Uther master. Storm is now going to try to win this race, and they will win it just by a bit. 1200 life, pretty close. They're all out of mana, so they can't even go pick up the globes because of the pressure. Super nice body blocks by Nasmas.
Falling Sword will be utilized by Lauber. There's going to be the self-casted Divine Shield. Iron Skin popped by the Joanna as well, just to back away, because Varian was looking for a taunt. It is not on cooldown, and Li Ming's Wave of Force is 5 seconds away. Belith will spawn in the bottom lane, and I'm sure people want to know his damage right now. 642 basic, and then into structures 1,284 as Vince puts some pressure into Dequaza. The pressure is actually being applied to this Yrel in top lane. She does have Ardent Defender. It's off a cooldown. She could pop it if she really needs it. And there will be the Ardent Defender. Rain of Vengeance to lock down the Yrel a little bit further. Oxygen has rotated up, and I think Storm Esports, with their lack of mana on a critical hero like Joanna, needs to back away.
I'm not even sure he needed to use it, but he wanted to make sure to use it rather than to, I guess to potentially go down to some kind of CC chain. That's all they wanted, I think. Like, that ultimate takes 3 times longer to come back than Yrel's life. So that's a big win. That's a 2-minute cooldown they were chasing.
I do like that forced heroic from the side of Oxygen Esports. They did from Oxygen's side too, they did get the Divine Shield out from Uther at some point, but that's only a 90-second cooldown. As the re-engagement comes out, Falling Sword from Joanna will be targeting onto Heavy, as we do have Vince trying to put pressure onto Lauber, but Lauber just continues to step in because BBJ comes in with the phase shift. And I gotta look at this really quickly on the experience breakdown page. Mercenaries, okay, I thought it was gonna be a lot more. It's 2,271 to the 3,711, and we are gonna be seeing about 3,000 experience difference between the two teams, and that's what's yielding us this solid 13 talent tier, well, in a second, for the side of Storm Esports as they take down the bottom lane fort after the Immortal did get some decent siege initially.
Kind of a window for Oxygen. They faced off against Storm's 5 heroes with 4, as Yrel, Nazmas, was getting most of the life off that top fort. Oxygen's own bottom fort was low enough on health that it didn't take much more than a slight breeze to knock it down. Eventually, Storm rotated with several people top, and they stopped Yrel's progress, but not before much damage had been dealt. Nazmas has set that top fort up for future defeat and destruction. However, the earlier you actually fully kill a fort, the earlier catapults and passive experience gain start racking up for your team. So the difference is in whether that task is completed yet or not. It doesn't look like they can soon look at it again. For now, the defensive Immortal positions fully lead the teams into a non-combative trade.
Top lane does have camps coming through, and I was thinking, do we jump into Storm Esports comms right here?
Yeah, it seems like a great time. Let's do it, Baha.
In we go.
Yeah, I'm just staying on our...
We need to defend a bit though.
It's fine.
Tense?
They used the taunt on me.
Fine.
I'm on your own here a bit. Okay, I'm coming up now.
Oh.
If we stay, they just poke, right? I have to burn?
Yeah,
you have to burn, you have to burn.
Yeah, he's on.
If you can go on Yrel, maybe, with Uther as well.
You want me to go to
Trying to
Lupa?
chunker a bit.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I think we have to try
Okay,
to
shoot,
shoot.
shoot, shoot. I can come up too. Do you need me?
No.
No. Raise,
Can we go on Yrel, actually? I'm fine.
Can stun.
I don't think we can kill them here.
I'm still burning.
I think we have
Force
to
them off
like...
though. If we force them to be back I mean, here, Yrel is not even
Yeah, they
defending
can't...
right now.
Yeah. If we stay like this, it's okay. I'm gonna take a low
I have a
damage, so.
D-shield, I have a D-shield. Don't be scared.
Get my blink going on.
You're always
Okay,
messing
nice.
with me.
Are you fine?
Ouch.
Everybody? I have everything. I'm chilling. Go and race now. Go and race. Help Abby.
Nice.
I have a
They're
D-shield.
gonna get the race now. They're gonna get the race, but it's okay. Careful so we don't die here.
No,
Can we look Yrel?
We can kill your own.
Yeah, they're coming as well though. She has no bubble, right?
No bevel, no bevel.
Yeah, no
I don't have
problem.
mana for vaults.
I have R after the wall. Chase her.
Yeah, go.
No bubble. No mana either.
Yeah,
got
just
it.
behind.
I'm in trouble.
Fine.
You're fine. Rhaegar?
You can.
Working. Kinda hard.
Load 'em.
Yeah.
I'm chilling.
I D-shield. Go. run.
Leave.
I have a cleanse for
We're all
someone.
low on mana.
I don't have tap.
up if they do something to us.
Look at Rhaegar if he bites us in.
No, some.
I have tap here.
I have tap actually. We can re-engage here. We can re-engage them.
Yeah.
Look at Rhaegar.
Yeah.
We're in sands. Careful.
They're idiots.
I have a cleanse,
Varian, just kill Varian. Varian can't escape. I guess he has his dash. He's gonna try to dash.
No, he doesn't have it. He went.
Oh, he went protected? What the hell? Keep chasing him down. You get him,
Low on
Marcus.
him in one. I have a cleanse for someone. I have a cleanse. Don't worry.
We can take top as well.
Yeah. I'm getting top.
Maybe bot wave someone.
I guess I'm going bottom.
I mean, we are almost 20. That's our power spec. I think on 20 we can just like run at them, and I just.
Grubby, I'm not gonna lie, I didn't want to leave those comms. I was like mesmerized by how well they are communicating as a team, and I love being able to hear IB Tings like chime in here and there and like so calm, like, oh, I'm in slowing sands. It's like, oh, you're okay, you're okay. It's like, oh, I'm in trouble. Oh, you're okay, you're okay. Like, it's really cool to hear from Storm Esports. But like I love how Lobber's leading as a tank. The way that he's communicating, I have stuff, I have buttons, I'm good. He's not gigafine, but he's good. He's good. There's a difference. I think he's figured out his verbiage.
Yeah, and you know all the calls were correct as well in who they could get. They didn't end up getting Urel, but everything else actually happened true to his word. So that was really quality calls. Not 100% Oxygen are idiots, but it's an emotional, it's a thing of the moment. Emotional kind of thing. More like that move perhaps wasn't ideal rather than they actually do not possess any intelligence at all. I think that's how he meant it. And it was cool that they actually recognized that because they didn't have any mana themselves, Storm. So I was very surprised that he saw that was a potential turnaround point, that they were willing in that moment to drop all deep push of the Immortal and minions. Yeah. That was super, super impressive personally to me. Great calls from Laber, great follow-up as well.
I think even the entire team realized they had tap, and they were like, okay, we all tap and just turn. And it was such a well-timed condemn from Lauber just to set everything up, and then the shot calling into Rhaegar. But let's continue talking about both of these teams as we have another Immortal phase spawning here, Grubby. It's going to be a north-south positioning, and we already see Oxygen, who just got their 16s, checks the bush with the banner that Varian just picked up, which that banner is going to be a strong talent at level 20 if he does go into that. Excuse me. The biggest thing that I want to note, though, is Earth Grasp Totem is now online for Rhaegar. It deals 272 damage scaling, but it also slows by 90% for 1 second, which could be exactly what Draded and Madara need to be able to get their big burst damage in, and then Vince can continue to lock people down with his taunt. But that all has to kind of line up very well, and also Rhaegar kind of has to be a little close to be able to summon that totem. So we'll hang on to that idea for now as Oxygen are in the defensive positions. Brightwing is just soaking through bottom lane. I love how BBJ is split soaking, walking that wave up, has the phase shift available for anyone that is wondering.
Yeah, so he's just going to get a little bit more damage getting that catapult on the wave there. Meanwhile, a very patient game by both teams. Urel on the perimeter there. She's probably going to take a stun to the face, stop those wings. That's a nice force again on Absorbent Defender. Great job by Storm. Bunker into the slowing sands. He pops out of it with a bit of a displacement possible with that bunker as well. Love that telltale chime sound by Draded, picking up that Seeker at level 7. And he's got the Fireflies at 16 to make sure that those connect more readily. Anytime 3 missiles hit the same target, that's bonus damage. Uther goes in. It is time, they think. They go on top of Li Ming. Li Ming gets polymorph. Nice ancestral. Fantastic jet propulsion. D-shield on Blaze to keep him safe. Rhaegar, wow! The final flame stream from Dayquaza takes down Rhaegar. Great accuracy by Storm. Very surgical deletion of Rhaegar, of Heavy right there.
There was an initial dive onto Draded, but I love what Madara did with the time trap. We have the synergy of the level 1 Time Walker's Pursuit, but then you also have the Time Troubles at level 4 for her too. But hold on, I'm going to hold that thought on the talents because Rutzo almost goes down. It's Draded now who's going to be the target. The slows are onto Vince. Jet Propulsion is going to be eaten by Nazmus. Draded sitting with a couple hundred health, and that's going to be Varian going down. Another stack for the Vala at 158. IB Tings is hungry for more kills. Vaults in. Time stop. The longest stasis in Heroes of the Storm will finally expire, and Madara does go down. But Madara, I just want to give credit where it's due. Madara utilized the time trap onto Li Ming earlier on that dive, and that gave Li Ming 30 armor, and it saved her. Unfortunately, did not save Hebi on the Rhaegar, and he was the new target. I love when we were in the comms, and I think we can actually see it kind of being displayed here, Grubby. I think Storm does a really good job of retargeting during team fights. They all go, okay, we're gonna do this, and then immediately when someone else is out of position, they all know how to follow up on what's being called out as, okay, instead of Li Ming, instead of Li Ming, it's now Rhaegar, and they make that immediate jump, and it's really working out for them right now as this Immortal is gonna go over to the side of Storm Esports, that's a very risky jump in, but I realized there is, well, yeah, it's really risky. I was like, you got Arden Defender, but you got to be able to push your buttons, and when you can't, you're gonna go down to IB Tings, as that is another double kill. 10-0, 20 talent tier, and Belith in top lane with a massive shield.
Romy wasn't there. Yrel jumps in by themselves, even though they have Absorbent. And Rhaegar goes in by himself, maybe to save Yrel, and now out of position. Both unable to use their ult before they die. Storm, of course, 5v1s. Not the hardest thing in the world, but still, great deletion there. Oxygen kind of throwing it there. Maybe they felt that if they give that kind of Immortal, it's GG anyway. But I'm not sure what one hero can really commit there. Perhaps a little bit of an emotional reaction to the recent turn of events that have been happening.
That's very, very possible. There is, we keep saying this, but this is, this is the do or die right now in the gauntlet, as there's going to be an all-in onto Varian falling, Sword, Reyna, Vengeance, Jet Propulsion, big burst from Ivy Tings once again, 186 stacks as the keep will fall. Belith right now in this top lane dealing 1,852 damage into structures, still has a tiny little shield. Once that shield falls, he'll move into melee range. Falling Sword for the Unstoppable. Lauber gets some cooldown reduction, 18 seconds onto that one. There's going to be Nasmus being targeted right around the Immortal. Nasmus is going to try and get some Righteous Hammer, bops around, does have that armor reduction. Ancestor Healing will come through. Uther gets the stun mid-air onto Nasmus. Polymorph comes through. Divine Shield onto the Blaze. And ladies and gentlemen, Storm Esports, 11-0, 21-18 in levels, will crush members of Oxygen, but it's not over just yet. The dreams of Oxygen are looking, well, they're looking a little choked out right now, and it's possible for them to breathe some air into the series, but it's looking very, very strong for Storm Esports, and I'm sure, Justin, you've got a lot to break down for us here.
Yeah, Storm Esports looking super strong. I would say that this game, out of all the games we've had in the Gauntlet so far, is the only game where if I was not drafting and my team drafted me this and I saw the team comps, I wouldn't really know what to tell my team, like how we win the game. This was the only draft we've had so far in the Gauntlet that I felt was super imbalanced for one side, that side being Storm having just a ridiculous composition into what Oxygen has drafted. You could tell that in the early game, Oxygen was doing okay because they have the safety of their forts to retreat to, and they have a very unsafe composition against what is essentially 5 Illidan's on the other side of Storm Esports with their comp. Like, once your forts are down, you have nowhere to really run, and that's the way that Storm Esports comp needs to play. Since they don't have the poke, they have that hard engage, bully you off of your own Immortal style. That's much harder to pull off in the early game when you have forts right there. And that was really kind of shown in that game, especially with once they reached level 10, they actually had, for Storm, that was kind of when things started to turn on for them. Before that, it was a little back and forth. They were getting kills, but they weren't really getting any objectives, nothing serious. Oxygen got the first objective, they got the third objective, but then after that, level 10s come in, and Storm can really start playing their game. They were slowly whittling away at the forts through the whole early game on the side of Storm Esports. And level 10 is like a good start for them to be able to start actually playing team fights, because before that, there's really no way for them to stop Oxygen's double poke mage from poking. But once the forts are dead, once they're level 10s, once they get their 13, 16 talents, which just scale a lot better than Oxygen's does, then it kind of becomes unwinnable for Oxygen. They would have needed to have maybe a 2-level lead at least by the time they hit level maybe 12 to 10, but they weren't that far ahead, so there's really just, it's nearly impossible to win the game after that. Once you get to 13, 16, your forts are down, there's nowhere to run. Like here too, when Lauber, he called for the pre-tap, their whole team taps, they just bait it. Once Oxygen's this far away with no fort in their lane, they just get ran down, and I mean, where are you gonna run if you're Chromie Li Ming? Like, you kind of just have to leave. Same with Varian, he went to protect at level 10 instead of going with the ally jump, so he has no mobility to escape once he gets in. Rutzo played really well on the Uther this game. He was basically the tank this game. Johanna was more of like a flex DPS. Johanna wasn't really engaging fights for the most part. Typically every single fight just started with a Rutzo stun, and you could hear him in the comms too being very vocal about that. They were tracking the taunt cooldown because that's pretty much the only threat from Oxygen overall. And also when we heard the comms from Storm, they just had a lot more voices. There was a lot more information. Everyone seemed to be just really meshing well, all on the same page, all giving valuable information. Whereas in the first game, when we listened to Oxygen comms, it felt kind of like the Madara show in comms. It didn't feel like there was quite the same level of cohesion between all the members, at least not vocally in comms. And I mean, that game I do think was a pretty big draft blunder. I would have liked to see Nazmaz. I think he had an opportunity to potentially carry the game if he went a different build. We pretty much always see the URL build that we saw this game. It's pretty standard. But I think that if he would have gone the kind of like the tank URL build, where you get the Q talent at level 1 with the damage reduction at 13, I think he may have actually had a chance at shutting down the enemy team comp, because the Velen's chosen, the damage he gets at level 13, pretty insignificant into double support and into a bunch of just beefy characters. But if you can reduce the Vala and the Johannes damage at the same time with that Q at 13, then his team could have possibly had a chance, especially since Ivy Tinks on the Vala went with the auto attack build into Rhaegar with the attack speed slows. I think they had a small chance had he gone that build, but I think as soon as you go the normal build, it's kind of just doomed. Once the forts are down, you get ran down by Storm Esports, and Storm Esports, really good at death balls, and they showcased it here in this game.
It was beautifully played, and you made a note, Justin, of when we were in the comms, how they were all providing valuable information. There was a point where Lauber, as they were chasing Varian, was like, Lauber was like, oh, he's going to dash to a hero, or he's going to use dash or something. And then BBG goes, no, he took wall. And then Lauber goes, oh, what the hell? So it is one of those things, like, I think you nailed that perfectly, because there was a lot of really good, there's a lot of voices, but it was voices providing valuable information. It wasn't just noise like my Storm League games when I'm just screaming and hoping to God that I'm winning. But right now, the members of Storm Esports are winning in our first best of 5 series of the day, but it's not over just yet. We're only 2 maps in, and Oxygen, they could start to rally and bring things back. We're going to take a small little break. In this break, I encourage you to do 2 things. 1, I want you to hit ! prize pool. We are at $11,234.20. If we hit 12,000 today, Grubby will reveal a little bit more of the song he's going to sing for all of you. We already know it's something about Illidan. We don't know much more beyond that. So if we hit 12K, we'll find out a little bit more. If we hit 15K, that is when we will actually get the unlocked Grubby song. So we got a little bit of a road to go there. ! Prize pool in chat to donate over on the Matcherino. And the second thing I want you to do in this break is hit ! Awards. We are doing another award show for HeroesCCL Season 3. It's going to be taking place on January 29th at our normal HeroesCCL start time. And there are many categories for you to all vote on. I highly encourage you to hit that command, hit that link, and be able to get some voting in this short little break. But as I said, we'll be back in a few minutes with more HeroesCCL presented by Wisdom. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to HeroesCCL. We are in the midst of our first best of 5 of the day, and it's going to be Oxygen Esports versus Storm Esports. And we're going to be seeing if Oxygen can keep up with Storm Esports, as we are going to get ready for our 3rd map of the day. Of course, my name is Bahamut, joined by Grubby and Justin, and as always, I like to ask what you guys got up to in the break. So really quickly, Justin, what'd you do?
I got some coffee.
Oh, nice, Grubby.
Yeah.
I recorded a YouTube intro for tonight's video.
The man who never stops. He streams right before CCL. He's on CCL. He streams after CCL. I don't think he actually sleeps. Grubby might be a robot. But with that theory, that aside, maybe I'll put my tinfoil away. Let's go ahead and find out where we're going to go to for map number 3, because this series could conclude on this 3rd map, and it's going to be Towers of Doom, chosen by Storm Esports, as the members of Oxygen have wanted first pick priority once again. And for anyone that wants the stats for it, the members of Oxygen currently sit 0-3, so they are winless on this map. 3 losses. The side of Storm Esports, they got a 50% win rate, 2 wins, 2 losses. Some really cool action coming out right now. And I have to say, Grubby, Justin, this is my favorite map in Heroes of Storm. Like, there's a lot of maps in our pool. I think Blackheart's Bay is fun. I miss Haunted Mines. I love Towers of Doom. I just like the way that it plays, the draft styles. There's so much that can be done here. And I want to start picking your brain, Justin, as a former draft lead for Wildheart, or I guess the drafter. What would you kind of be leaning into for a Towers of Doom draft, or maybe prioritizing?
So I like the way that Oxygen is going off the bat with the Vala ban. Vala has been quite crucial to Storm in their last 2 comps. It's very obvious that they like to run this Death Ball type of comp, and Vala just provides that single target hyper carry damage that you need the most. Also, Storm banning out the Stitches I think is smart. I definitely think Oxygen would be looking to pick that up had they not banned that. I would say that this is Stitches' best map overall. It's just really, really scary to rotate between the forts mid and bottom with the Stitches. There's just so many walls to hook through, so that's a good bans coming out from both teams. I would like to see Oxygen try to kind of punish this double support style composition that Storm is so apt to run. They haven't had the greatest tools to do that in the past. I'd mentioned in the previous game that if Nazmaz went the damage reduction build on Yrel, that might have done a lot better. And maybe looking to pick some tools like that, either prioritizing the Blaze with the spell power or attack speed slows, prioritizing maybe the Rhaegar with the totem. Now we do see the Stukov being picked up by Heavy, and you can't be mad at a Heavy Stukov, and it can go into pretty much anything. So I'm expecting the Rhaegar to be likely picked up by Storm, but they don't need to. BBJ really comfortable on the Lucio, so they might look to just save their support pick, or not. They actually just prioritize the Brightwing over either of them, so just getting a monopoly on the globals right away.
Exactly. You took it. You took the idea right out of my mind. And they could go. I'm dumb. I didn't realize that the Falstad was already banned out. So I was like, they could go Falstad and just more globals. But I really like the Dahaka for this map. Grubby, any thoughts on the draft so far?
Global orientation for Storm, nothing wrong with that. Always works. So far, I think everything is really sensible. This is where we're going to see if Oxygen reveals their hand again. A little bit similar to last game where they also opened with healer and then the tank and the DPS. But I'd argue that Murden is a bit more of a generalist tank that doesn't really push you in any particular direction, much less like a variant that really shows where you're going. And arguably, Li Ming. I think Li Ming is a situational pick that you will only really see coming out early on Battlefield of Eternity. And even then, it feels a little risky to show it anywhere before the final slot. Junkrat and Murden are a lot more general, so I think Oxygen is definitely learning from not revealing their intent too early.
There's also a lot of really cool poke factors between the Stukov Lurking Arm, Junkrat's basic abilities in general, and then Murden's Stormbolts as well, and his ability just to be able to kind of walk in or Dwarf Toss in and kind of be able to live in the enemy backline, especially with the Dwarf block charges at level 1 if picked up. But as we get through some more bans here, got to get your expectations for these teams, or maybe the future of this draft, Justing.
Tyrael. I think the Zeratul ban was probably a big mistake. I guess not. I was expecting that Storm would be looking to try to continue doing that Deathball comp and maybe just pick up the Tyrael Tracer. That's something that was very prevalent in weeks prior and then kind of has fallen off recently. Them not going that, I think, is a little strange. They are going the Mephisto, which is almost a deny pick against Oxygen. Ooh. And there's the Ava Samura. So this is, even though this is the weirdest draft from Oxygen, I think this looks like their strongest draft so far in the series. Especially considering that what they're going against on the side of Storm isn't their traditional Deathball style. It's much more combo based, which they don't tend to do quite as well with.
I'm curious, as we're gonna get this last pick, I'm actually... Let me just throw it right back to you, Justin. What would you last pick to counter this Samura? I know there's like a second or two here, but I still want to get your thoughts in theory.
Maiev, of course.
He knows.
So smart.
Yeah, the Maiev is a little weird. I'm not sure if that's actually the best pick they could have had here. Okay. I think something that can either provide physical armor or... I mean, there's not a lot left for that either because they already picked the Brightwing. I think Storm's comp, while it is relatively strong, it's a little bit risky and it doesn't really play into their playstyle all that well. They're not going to be able to play the same as they did the previous two games where everyone's just kind of passively hitting the same target. They're really going to need perfect coordination and execution to combo off of Lauber with the Maiev, with what is likely going to be a Cage, and to just combo from Mephisto with the Durance. This is the first draft where I'd say Oxygen, both stylistically between the two teams, as well as just on paper, has a better draft. The Murden is the best tank with this Avatar type of composition. Junkrat is the best ranged with it. You can kind of permanently push your waves out. He is that S-tier goalie, like I like to call it, where you can't really siege into the lane that he's in. It creates this awkward situation where as long as the Junkrat is in the lane that's trying to be pushed, you can't really push there. They also don't have anything on the side of Storm Esports like a Greymane to push with a Nubarak. They have the Mephisto, so they're very spell damage heavy. They're not really siege heavy. It's kind of difficult for them to siege. So this is the first game where I'm really feeling Oxygen's draft. They do play the Abba Samuro quite a lot. That's something that they're really known for. Nazmaz especially, known for his Samuro. Mm-hmm. And they pretty much got all of the perfect picks to go alongside it. They have the Stukov best support, Junkrat best range, Murden best tank. So if Oxygen's going to make their stand and start up a reverse sweep, this is where it'll happen.
Well, let's see if that's going to be the case, Justing, as we are loaded on in. And thank you, as always, for the breakdown and explanation of such deep dive and draft theories. We got Oxygen CCL life on the line on Towers of Doom here. If Oxygen loses, they're out. Storm Esports moves on up against Diamond Hands later on today. But let's get into the game right now. Draded on the Abathur, Nasmus on the Samuro, Heavy on the Stukov, Mater on the Junkrat, and Vince on the Muradin. Over in the red, looking to close it out in a quick 3-0, we got BBJ on the Brightwing, Dekwaza on the Dahaka, Lauber on the Anubrek, Ibitings on the Maev, Rutso on the Mephisto. That's going to be your Storm Esports draft. I honestly, Grubby, I agree with Justing so much that I'm just like, man, I love Oxygen's draft. But that momentum, the play style from Storm today, they came with just fire and fury, and I'm going to call this a Storm Esports win. I don't want 3-0s today, but I feel like it could be. It's very close. I would put this as the closest game so far draft-wise, but we have to see how the execution really comes into play. But what do you think here, Grubby? Because I think you're blown away by my prediction.
Yeah, I'm in shock that you would go directly against Justin's prediction here. But I think you've got a thing here because Storm did look fairly dominant in the games. They have 33 against 11 takedowns over the entire series so far. But those stats don't lie. Then again, I'm also thinking I think that's a great draw from Oxygen Esports. And Maev, I'm of two minds about it. Maev excels in PvP damage against multiple bodies. Abathur means there are fewer bodies, so then I'm like, I don't get it. And then there are clones to stack off as well, to get her combos, her fan of knives more off. And, of course, the extra thing is containment disc. Maev is not just a fan of knifer. She's also a yoinker. She's also a wave clearer with Naisha's memento. Let me see if she grabbed that. She did. She's a camp taker. And it's that containment disc. And together with Anubarak, Maev and Anubarak can shut down and remove 2 bodies from the field.
Yep.
And there's only 4 to begin with. Every now and then there may be a copy, but remember, this is Oxygen. They can go for monstrosity. They've done it so often before. Though I think it is going to be copy, especially with Sam.
Yeah.
But still, you can remove 2 of those bodies. And that's going to be a great tool for Storm to have really advantageous fights. Though, in theory, that does hurt Mephisto, because he's going to get fewer PvP CDRs as well.
Ooh, Lauber tries to go at Mater right there. A little bit of Skull Missile poke from Rutso as well. The camp in bottom lane is trying to be walked in. Vince starting to create some space with the help of the Samuro and Junkrat as well. It's just looking at how this fight is setting up. Lauber's a little far forward. He is not Giga fine, and he is going to be going down. That's going to be first blood to the side of Oxygen as Vince steps forward looking for the kill into Ivy Tings and is not able to do so. Actually turns around into Rutso, will drop his Origin, will use the Shade of Mephisto. Brightwing comes in with the phase shift, but I feel like there was like healing reduction or something right there because it just did not seem like it gave much, if any, healing to the Mephisto.
Yeah, maybe simultaneously doing some damage, and that kind of compensated for it.
Yeah.
And of course, it doesn't have the shield from level 7 yet. It was nerfed a little bit. All things that can maybe influence our perception there. But Oxygen off to the first 2 kills in the game.
Maybe 3?
So far. Oh my god, that was real close. Really, really close. 62 health. BBJ got the healing tick just in time.
Ah, man, things are definitely heating up on Towers of Doom because Oxygen, as I mentioned, they do not want to get knocked out in a 3-0. They do not want to end their CCL run just yet. Vince goes in for the Dwarf Toss. He doesn't have the range. The structure of the wall kind of gets in the way, but he rounds the corner, hits the Stormbolt onto BBJ. BBJ doesn't have any sort of blink heal just yet, and that is Abathur with the snipe kill. Heavy so low. Fan of Knives gets the kill onto the Junkrat. Heavy has to back away. Is there a burrow charge available for Lauber? He's got the impale off a cooldown. Burrow charge just now coming off of cooldown. Nasmus is the target, and do we have a burrow charge over the wall? I love what Lauber just did. He actually stayed around one of the clones expecting Nasmus to double back, and Lauber's so invested in the chase but has to stop because the new priority is the camp. Heavy, still low. Samuro, known to have to hearth back, but keep in mind, Samuro can kinda trick how quickly he can get from the core back onto the battlefield with a little shift queuing of abilities.
Yeah, exactly. If you press Q and then Shift D on one of your images, the very same frame that you port back and where Blizzard has coded it so that your image will actually despawn to prevent exactly this, you will actually port to your image back to lane with that bonus 500 plus heal from the core that you get in that small little frame of instance that you are there. So It's a Hearthstone trick that allows Sam to heal at the core and still be back to the lane, provided his images don't die.
Yes.
Before he's back.
That is-
Especially pre-level 10.
yeah.
That is a bit harder to control. Depends where you drop them and if an opponent is actually able to do enough damage on them. So let's look at the situation. 3-1 in kills, 9-8 in levels. Ivy Tinks with the Umbral Bind on Murden. He waits, walks along with it, jumps away. Samuro now applying pressure and being a real bit of a nuisance there for the backline of Storm. In the meantime, this is a 4v5. Avatar is picking up XP in the top lane. It's little itty bits, but it can still be a bit of help. However, overall, Oxygen decides they are not going to go full all in. They don't have copy yet for Evolution on Avatar, so a 4v5, even with Symbiote, is not something they want to jeopardize their lives for.
Lauber finds a new target into Vince, who does get pulled back in by the Umbral Bind, but it's not going to be enough for a kill. Do want to talk about some of these talents here in just a second, as Nasmus will drop some clones in bottom and immediately gets his wind walk out. We have that level 7 Dirty Trickster once again for Madara. You can know this by, 1, you can see the talent at level 7, but 2, you have the visual indicator. I always like to talk about this in case you might have missed it yesterday or previous weekends when I've talked about it. That little smile means that Junkrat has the Dirty Trickster off of cooldown, and it has a 12-second cooldown once it's triggered by a stun or even Junkrat dropping below 50% HP. And there's a lot of stuns. Umbral Binds have pulls. You have the drag from Dahaka. You have Burrow Charge, Impale, Polymorph. You got a lot of stuff that can really trigger this. And then also the burst ability from the side of Storm Esports will trigger that as well. I've seen in the past, I was actually casting a game where someone double backed into a team fight because they were getting collapsed as the Junkrat and had Dirty Trickster, and they died, but they actually took down 2 enemies with them because it was such a dive heavy moment and they were already so low. So you can actually play around and trick enemy heroes. I don't expect this from Storm to get tricked by that, but either way, just little cool things that we can note with that, as our 10 talent tiers have come up, and it's really nothing out of the ordinary. And as Grubby had mentioned earlier, it's going to be that containment disc for the Maiev.
Yeah, Isolation, Cocoon, and Containment Disc. Oxygen is going to be like, are you guys an energy savings company? Because that's a lot of isolation.
Well, the isolation does come out onto Heavy immediately on that Stukov. We do have a containment disc going onto Samuro. There's going to be a lot of damage, and the isolation connecting onto Vince, who does have the Dwarf Toss at the end. He did pop the Avatar as well. The re-engagement comes out into the side of Storm Esports, who are getting a little bit low here. Rutso dives in with the Shade of Mephisto. Concussion Mine of Junkrat will not connect. We do have IB Tings trying to pull some people around. Vince getting a little bit low here. Draded might be the target, but Draded, keep in mind, that's an Abathur clone, and that is going to be a copy of Heavy going down, but the real Heavy is, I thought he was going to get picked off. I thought the Durance of Fate would connect. Nasmus is getting pinged because they're like, this is the real Samuro. Maybe we can get a kill onto him, as Nasmus is trying to back away. Polymorphed, you can't swap clones, and a kill or 2 go over to the side of Storm Esports, as well as the channel on this altar.
Containment Disc misses there as Ivy Things tried to set up an additional kill. That was Samuro 1 versus 5. He would have received more help from his team, but Heavy was half-life, Madara 20%, Vince was about 20%. Perhaps it was time for Samuro to pull back a bit. Perhaps he overestimated his own ability to escape danger against such a star-studded cast of 5 sets of eyes looking at him, essentially, and Storm did take him down, though it did take a while, so kudos there. Another 4 shots go over for the sides of Storm Esports. They have a little lead, but it's never over yet on Towers of Doom. It's very much about the state of the game and the levels that you have, not so much about the core HP. Though that starts to matter more and more as you get closer to 0% health.
Containment disc on, so Lauber Riptire is going to be attempted, but it has to be triggered early because the Burrow Charge from Lauber, containment disc onto Vince, my apologies. Either way, Draded takes a bit of damage. Once again, Draded is the Abathur, so it's a clone of Stukov, so we're getting double Stukovs to just constantly throw out healing pathogens, which I think is a really cool combo right there. Having a support healer composition, but then you kind of have a double healer composition for a couple fights, makes this side of Oxygen a little bit more sustaining. Man, it is really, really nice back and forth right now. And since we have the double altar phase and even talent tiers, maybe do you want to get in some comms, Grubby?
Yeah, let's hear from Oxygen.
I'm gonna hold that thought actually because I don't want to jump into Oxygen if they're about to lose the fight. They
didn't.
They did. Oh, I'm taking way too long. I'm sorry. We'll jump into him maybe a little bit later because the fight is still breaking out right now. That's a lot of damage onto Vince, and we have Dahaka still getting hit with the Stormbolt. Ibitings comes in with the Spirit of Vengeance, and Nasmus is having to use the Sakuchi to be able to jump away. My apologies, sorry, I juked you on that one.
No, all good, all good. It was a lot of things enveloping on the ground, a situation very rapidly as Storm now grabs double altar. Fantastic job. We've been talking a lot about the potential of the draft of Oxygen, but it's Storm that keeps coming out ahead over and over. And they're a little bit down on XP. Brightwing and Dahaka are kind of trying to fix that with their global soak. It is impressive how Oxygen is just a bit ahead in that XP. They do have that one extra kill, should not be forgotten. But over and over, Storm is getting these altars. Despite losing out in most other aspects, buildings, XP, kills, they get altar after altar, and that's going to create a lot of freedom and breathing space in some of the decision making as it gets down to the nitty gritty.
We'll have 16 talent here soon for both sides, a big impact for both teams, as we will also have a triple altar phase. You can already see that kind of grayed out on our map a little bit. You have the top left and right, which is a standard, and then the bottom, which is going to be... doesn't look like it's any sort of funneling or control just yet. I do want to note that Abathur did go Mule at level 7, which is going to be a great way to mitigate some of these sappers that are being forced in constantly through bottom lane. And I think that's something that we haven't really talked about much when it comes to the experience, is just how many camps we constantly are seeing Storm Esports grab. It's not that much experience gain over the side of Oxygen. It's 120 on the side of Oxygen to the 972, but that is still closing the gap that Abathur is constantly forming, the little bit of experience from earlier. Actually, hold on, let me look really quickly. Heroic kills are actually really close. There's only a 200 difference, that 200 being in favor of the side of Oxygen, but now BBJ has to try and back away, is going to be able to get the blink heal over to Dayquaza, but man, Nasmus is just microing these clones so very well. BBJ has to blink over to a minion to completely disengage, but it might have been a little bit of a stall. Oh, good catch in bottom lane from the Observer, because I wasn't even looking at the mini-map. That's a Nubarak going down, and we should see 8 shots into the side of Storm, only 4 raining into the side of Oxygen.
Yeah, just as a general heads up to people, if you're looking to not die to Stukov's arm, first of all, good luck with that.
Okay.
But also, raw health works better than activatable clickables. So if you rely on a shield like Johanna or a Nubarak, or an escape like a Nubarak or Muradin, that's not going to be as useful as just a raw giant health pool, since you can't use any abilities when you're inside that lurking arm, and that makes a Nubarak particularly vulnerable if Stukov can get his talents into a Nubarak at all and have that combo, that 70% slow, the silence. Already, Lobber has fallen multiple times to that, a total of 2 times, in fact.
It's 4-2 in kills. We 17 up on both sides. A little more experience to the side of Oxygen Esports. As the boss is going to be called here, Dahaka is anchoring in the bush. Vince comes in on the other side bush. Junkrat kind of announces his arrival. Massive Shove puts the Dahaka right next to Murden. There's going to be a cocoon onto Murden right away, and it looks like Storm Esports kind of want to back off of this point. Vince is already jumping back onto this. Containment Disc will be used, buys a few moments. Concussion Mine does split a few enemies away, but it's not going to be enough. Isolation will be connecting onto the Murden as well. The Lurking Arm on the point. The channel comes through for Storm Esports. They are going to find 4 more shots into the side of Oxygen, and Oxygen are going to back away. It's a little bit of a chase onto Lobber. Does he have any... Oh, Lobber, bud, what are you doing there? Maybe he
just
wanted
a bit of scouting where Abathur is.
That one, I wish we were in comms for that one. I really wish I could have heard what Lobber was saying right there.
Yeah, exactly. Well, wow. Storm manages to get the boss during such heavy pressure. Do end up losing one for it. And because the next altar is top left, top right, most likely that 7-second disparity between Anubarak's return and the spawning of the altar is not going to cost them 4 points. This looks like, under normal circumstances, it would be a 50-50 split between the 2 teams here. Oxygen does continue to build up their bonus experience. They're going to interrupt Dayquaza. It does look like they will try to be a bit of a bird. I can't imagine this is going to be a full-blown effort to do grand larceny here and steal that altar.
We got 3 members of Oxygen floating around. Brightwing speaking of characters floating, is in bottom lane right now, checking really quickly, has the phase shift available. Lauber back in the mix as well from Death. We have a solid level lead to the side of Oxygen, but no talent to your advantage for the time being. Just heroic scaling from that level. Ivy Ting's looking for a target. There's going to be Murden coming in with the Stormbolt. Dekaza going for the channel. Murden is going to set up the kill into the Anubrak. The channel does come through. Durance of Fate will be utilized, connecting onto Samuro, and Vince actually jumps into the Durance of Fate, but Rutso cannot get enough damage to get a kill. And it is just going to be Lauber sacrificing himself for the channel on the altar. 8-20 in core HP, but it's not over until the Raven Lord or the Gravekeeper fall. And Rutso going to get hit with the cleanse, utilizes the Shade of Mephisto to buy some time, jumps or floats nearby his keep to make sure that he's safe. Nasmus very low on the Samuro, does have that Sakuchi for his Windwalk, but it doesn't matter. Rutso wants the kill. He's not going to have enough raw damage. Oh no, the Shade of Mephisto is kind of a target point. Rutso should go down. Great lurking arm, good follow-up, and that is going to be a double kill. Riptire does come out. Traded! Sorry. I saw a name and I was like, oh, it's Traded. Okay, whoa, Vince?
Wow.
Nice overall quad pentakill. No. Maybe?
Well, he's not gone yet. Maybe. No. But that was some sick kills and sick concussive mines from Madara. Jiminy Jilliker's radioactive man. Because he anticipated, of course, that Mephisto returned. He had the position and the range to pop the concussive under Mephisto. And then that kill on Maiev as well. Great interplay between Vince and Madara there. Of course, Abby always there to follow up with his arm. Great plays by Oxygen, and despite losing many. You know, this is kind of a textbook Abathur comeback style in Towers of Doom. You lose many of the altars, but you build up a big experience lead. And you pretty much start to nab it back at the level 20 plus mark, where you're down in single digit core HP. But unfortunate. While Oxygen is riding that wave of momentum and winning, there's only a single altar to basically benefit from.
Yeah.
Had this been double or triple, this could be like game ending almost. But now it's only a single altar. They do control many of the bell towers. That's 6 shots, 8-14. Level 20 will be reached for Storm so that they can start to fight back.
And they are getting up and at him at the side of Oxygen on this map number 3. I see what you did there. 20 talent here, though, is going to be slowly worked in for by the Dahaka Brightwing as well, who are splitting right now in bottom lane. This is going to be a defense to try and stop 6 sappers from coming in. Vince looking to be able to do something right here. Some Fan of Knives coming out. We do have the Mephisto level 20. He is going to be able to utilize the double... The double lightning nova, there we go, that's the word for it. When he does, oh wait, hold on, Durance of Fate will be coming out. There's a lot of damage going out onto one character. It's gonna be the Junkrat. Madara gets a burst heal from Heavy. There's gonna be a containment disc on Muradin, a cocoon onto the Junkrat. Vince pops the avatar just in time. BBJ gets a blink heal away. The concussion mines are controlling this fight. Madara very, very low as the healing will come through for this Muradin. He did go for that third wind at level 1 for the extra threshold and quicker healing, but man, this bottom lane was well defended by the side of Storm Esports, losing no core HP. 8-14 in that core, and Storm quickly moves into mid lane. The next altar phase is, this is really good for the side of Oxygen to try and play into this, almost getting some kills as the next altar phase is going to be spawning top left and right. And I think they have to go and try and play into this immediately on the side of Storm Esports.
Man, this was really sick by Storm to defend and stop all 6 sappers, but also loving the repeated Stukov copies from Madara, not Madara, from
Traded?
From Traded here to constantly give extra healing. Such a survivable team. All right, let's see Anubrak dropping real low. Lauber! Woo! BBJ's healing pops and comes through. One altar is already channeled. That's 5 shots. If somehow Oxygen is able to wrest away control of this most difficult to conquer altars, then Oxygen would be off to a great position to end the game because they would then have access to the boss as well. And 5 + 4 is still 9. Let's see how this goes.
Good caster math, Grubby. Really, good Durance of Hate right there. Lurking arm underneath. There's going to be some chunking into Vince, but meanwhile in the backline, meanwhile somewhere, there's going to be a kill into Brightwing. Madara so very low once again, and the Nubrak goes down. This is just everything Oxygen wants. The Mephisto's going to go down to the hard carry of Samuro, and I believe, ladies and gentlemen, we are not done with this series just yet because Grubby, in his perfect math he is going to be able to explain, or he's already explained, that it's going to be Oxygen with the channel. Boss is already started by Madara, and I think we're seeing why the Junkrat has been banned out 16 times by the side of Storm Esports, because it does not look like this is a character they ever want to play against, and I don't expect to see a Junkrat in map number 4, but good on Oxygen to reel it back in, and they will break my expectations. Murden dies to Boss, but either way, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. It's going to be the members of Oxygen putting one up on the board, and the series, ladies and gentlemen, is not over just yet. Storm Esports, they have to win one. The side of Oxygen, they got to win 2 more maps. But we got to get Justin in here, who can explain how everything went so perfectly well for Oxygen.
So the early game, it was kind of weird. Oxygen gets the first 2 of 3 caps, and then they don't get another single altar until level 16. Because that's really when their team comp comes online. Typically with this type of composition with Abathur, you have your Samuro just split pushing top a lot. That wasn't really how this game was going. There was just a lot of fighting happening bot lane in just 5v5s from both teams. You had the Samuro, who was just sitting bottom quite a bit, not really looking for any split push early. And you had the Dahaka doing sort of the same thing just to counter the Samuro. And they were definitely, Oxygen was definitely okay with trading shots for experience, which is what we saw. They got a okay XP lead around level 16. That was when they started to kind of pull ahead, but they were really down in shots. At level 16, it was 16 to 24 shots. Before that, it was 20 to 32, when they had just had a moment from the first altar to when they hit level 16 where they didn't get a single shot that entire time. So it was a waiting game for Oxygen. They had to be really patient, but you could tell that things really come online for them once they do hit that level 16. Until then, they're just trying to lose as little as possible, and they did a pretty good job at that. They have Junkrat permanently defending bottom, so Storm Esports doesn't really have anywhere to push. The fort dive down here, deep dive on this bot fort, was really the moment where Oxygen broke ahead and was able to start snowballing the game for real. They got bot, fort, and mid fort off of this, and then they were able to just really take control of the entire map. And Vince on the Murden was pretty much invincible, which is to be expected when you're going against a Mephisto and a Maiev. There's not any single auto attack based hero to really kill the Murden. So Vince got a lot of value, and Nazmaz, post level 16, was just ridiculous with what he was able to pull off. He was constantly threatening the backline. It didn't seem like there was a really good response for it. In the early game, they were using both Isolation and Containment Disc just to kind of stop the Murden from existing. But once you get to level 16 and on, it's a lot harder to do that, because if you do that, you're not really winning the fight still, because you're going to have Samuro just in your backline, and you're going to have used all of your kind of control tools. So they trade XP for shots early game. They do it properly. Level 20, it's nearly impossible. Level 16, things get hard for Storm, but at level 20, there's almost no winning the game. You have Madara with the huge grenades at level 20. You have the Samuro, where all of his clones are super tanky. I thought it was kind of interesting to see that Oxygen was cloning Draded, or that Draded was cloning Heavy on Stukov in all the fights. That was kind of interesting. Stukov does have a really strong base kit, just because of his auto attacks being so strong. That on top of the clone value, where you get the bonus AP AD, it's really good for him being able to clone the Stukov and have the active on the D that he can heal everyone up with. So they definitely had a strategy in mind, and it was a little shaky through the early to mid game, but they definitely pulled it off. And excited to see if Oxygen has any more tricks up their sleeves like this going forward.
This is where you got to pull all the tricks. You got to take your bag of tricks, put it right next to your keyboard, and just start pulling things out, because it is our gauntlet bracket. You lose this, and that is your placement. Basically, the team that loses this best of 5 series will be 6th in the standings for HeroesCCL, and that is where they will end their season. The winner of this series is going to go on to face Diamond Hands a little bit later on today in another best of 5. Diamond Hands is the last gatekeeper before the double elimination, and the winner up against Diamond Hands, or if Diamond Hands wins, will then go into the double elimination bracket up against 30K next weekend. And we'll get into all that a little bit later as well, because we are going to get ready for our 4th map in this series. Really, really exciting stuff. I'm glad to see Oxygen really kind of bringing it back on that Towers of Doom game. And I have to, like, we don't talk about it all the time, but I have to say, Nazmus is probably my MVP from that game, because between the crushing blows and the press the attack, those two talents synergize so well, and we could see it in moments through the top lane where even Dahaka was just trying to like get in the way a little bit to create a little bit of space and some gapping for Brightwing, BVJ. It was still Nasmus just constantly harassing the Brightwing, and we even saw it at the end of the game where there was just a random Brightwing kill at the start of that fight because Nasmus just knew how to be such a everywhere character with this Samuro. Feels very much like last season when we'd see Cure on Zeratul. It'd be like, oh, you know, all of a sudden there's just a dead hero because Cure just happened to just stick on top of them. So really, really, really exciting stuff so far in our first best of 5 of the day. And this is, Grubby, what I was expecting from these matches. I wasn't expecting any 3-0s. I'm liking that Oxygen are rallying and we could potentially see that game number 5.
Yeah, this is our first playoffs match of this month that isn't a 3-0 so far. And, you know, it was the best draft yet. It looked actually like Storm was going to maybe be a level behind, but half that not matter because of the core HP lead that they had built up. They were able to zone out the members of Oxygen repeatedly with a great formation to grab altar after altar after altar. But somewhere it went wrong. And what surprised me most is how Oxygen were able to protect one another. I've never seen such a survivable Junkrat. Someone that would drop to like end life and then stay alive. Between the symbiote, Stukov's healing, the zoning, the CC that Muradin or Stukov would do, and then that second Stukov coming in, it was really hard to kill anyone. A little bit of an issue too, of course, with the draft of Storm, where they had, like Justin said, not as much of a let's roll and do a death ball and pick them off one by one. With sustained damage, it was a bit more technical, a bit more mage, a bit more AoE damage. Maybe it doesn't suit them as much, like Justin said. Let's see what happens next on this next map that we are now ready to reveal to you what it's going to be.
Yeah, we know where we're going to head into, and it's going to be the members of Storm Esports opting for first pick priority as the losing team. So Oxygen will have to choose the map, and it is going to be the map choice of Curse Hollow. Record-wise, Oxygen sits 3-1, 3 wins, 1 loss, and the side of Storm Esports, they sit 3-2, 3 wins, 2 losses. As we get into the Curse Hollow map, curious, Justin, do we see priority onto Samuro for the side of Oxygen?
If they're able to get it, I definitely think we see that. I'm expecting that Storm, knowing that this is a big map and having the 2 smaller maps already kind of removed from the pool, from Storm getting the wins on them, that Storm is going to know something is up coming to Cursed Hollow. And this is a map where there's a lot of weird macro tools available. So we see the Vikings already being banned out. Samuro is that other strategy. It's not likely that they would go Samuro without the Abathur, so heads up bans from Storm Esports. They just want to play a nice, clean, normal game of Heroes of the Storm. They don't want to have any of the shenanigans with Vikings and Abathur. So good bans, but we'll see if that means that Oxygen does play Standard and just get a better Standard draft because of these basically free bans on things that otherwise just wouldn't be banned out.
I do like the targeting onto Ivyting's Vala here, as well as Lauber's Joanna. Those are really, really nice heads-up bans. As oh man, Springy joining us for our 4th map draft. Thank you so much, Springy. I'm sure Springy's a... You know, let me ask this really quickly, Justin. Let me just derail the entire draft. What's Springy's favorite map? Does Springy have a favorite map by any means?
I don't know, I have to ask her.
All right.
She's probably see, what would she like? She might like
Does she like spiders?
No, she likes like eating spiders, I guess. So yeah, maybe she does like Doom.
Oh, there you go.
Hunt spiders down.
Well,
is this quite usual for cats to seek affection this often? She seems like an absolutely wonderful cat. I always see videos of cats like swiping at their owners' faces and stuff. She actually adores you. It's so cool.
Yeah, sometimes sometimes she's still kind of wild, but she's just really clingy. She's a little needy cat.
Awesome.
She must still be on the Wild Heart roster at that point. But let's start talking about the Curse Hollow draft, because I'm a little surprised here, Grubby, that we're seeing a Junkrat come on through this draft. I know that we ban out Vikings and Abathur, but they don't grab the Junkrat themselves on Storm?
Yeah, Madara had 100,000 damage of hero damage, almost double of anyone else in that game. More than that, his concussives were incredible. We're getting both the Heavy and the Madara back on the hero that they just won with. At the end of the day, everyone's dangerous, and Storm decided that it was Abathur with 4 hero kills and equaling anyone else's hero damage beside Junkrat, that was the biggest problem. It's like Justin said, they want to make sure that it's just a straight up game, albeit with Storm having the global, so not exactly straight up. They're still macro, right? But not one of the unfair macro tools like Abathur or Vikings. They think that even the danger and the strength that Madaran Heavy displayed should not be enough compared to what Abathur could bring, especially on another map, which is Abathur's top map. Cursed Hollow, Towers of Doom, his best 2 maps. Maybe, if it goes wrong again, you can skip the Abathur ban next map and then deal with the Junkrat or the Stukov.
Ooh, that is really scary. Blaze Jet Propulsion, Diablo Shadow Charge Overpower, Stukov with some lurking arms, Junkrat Shattering Teeth, all that good stuff. This is looking like a very strong draft for Oxygen, Justing.
Yeah, the comp is definitely really strong in 5v5s. I would expect this might be the game where Storm does go that Tyrael route. I'm not sure if they would have the option to run it with Tracer now into Diablo. It's historically not the greatest matchup. You don't really have any good targets right now for it, so they opt to go... Okay, that makes more sense. They opt to go with the Tychus, so that they have some way to deal with the Diablo and the Blaze. And Muradin for Lauber, I really like that a lot. I think Muradin in general is just extremely underrated as a tank. I think that over time we'll start seeing a higher priority onto Muradin just in general. I think he's kind of a safer version of the Diablo, but we do get the Medivh. That's Springy's favorite hero because he turns into a bird, and Oxygen plays it quite well. That is their trick that's left for this game. The Diablo Medivh, super scary, especially into Tychus. It kind of completely reverses that matchup where typically Tychus is a good matchup into Diablo, but when you have the Protect, it's very telegraphed when Tychus is using his minigun. It's very easy to just protect the entire thing. So I really like the Medivh being picked up on the side of Oxygen. I'm expecting we'll see Draded on it. Draded is one of the best Medivhs in the world. He has been for quite a while. So I'm excited to see Draded pulling out the Medivh, something that he can really thrive on. He's a player, Draded is, that I played Medivh with, so he's got some experience there. He's been bullied a bit in comms, so he's trained. He's up to my standards for Medivh play for playing with me. So he's good. He's good at Medivh. So we should be in for a treat here with them having the Stukov as well that complements it very well, as well as the Junkrat. The only real concern I'm seeing here is that the side of Storm Esports with Muradin and Dahaka might be a little bit too tanky even for Oxygen to kill. That isn't the worst problem to have when you have a Medivh. They can kind of play to outlast, but they might get out macroed a bit as well with the Falstad and Dahaka on the side of Storm Esports. And overall, Storm Esports did draft a bit of a deathball style this game, much unlike the last game, and that's really where they thrive. So we'll see if they're able to make it work.
Well, we'll see how things unfold here on Cursed Hollow. Justin, thank you for the breakdown as always, because we got Oxygen in the blue, Nasmus on the Blaze, Mater on the Junkrat, Vince on the Diablo, Draded to play the Medivh, and Heavy on the Stukov. Over in the red, looking at Storm Esports, we got BBJ on the Lucio, Ivy Tings on the Falstad, Dequaz on the Dahaka, Lauber to play Muradin, and Rutso on the Tychus. Oh, Grubby, it's always hard to vote against a Medivh, but I think you already know where I'm going with this. It's going to be, I'm thinking it's Storm Esports here. Lauber, Muradin, Burning Rage at level 13, or Bronzebeard Rage at level 13 is a very critical talent. I've seen it on his streams where he's like, oh, I get 13 and I hard carry, and it is very true often. So I like the Storm Esports direction. I think they can scale really well. The Medivh is absolutely terrifying. We'll have to see how things unfold. What are your thoughts for this Cursed Hollow draft, and maybe your expectations for the game?
Yeah, dude, just amazing drafts. Yeah. Both sides, really incredible. I'm loving the Diablo Medivh synergy the most. I'm gonna go with the 2-2 score here between the two teams.
Ooh, BBJ. Yeah, goodbye. Okay. Well, unfortunately, First Blood goes over to the side of Oxygen, and my notebook.
There's your prediction. It's over.
I know. You know what? I was actually looking back at my notebook before I was doing stats for this weekend, and I recalled before the break that I changed my prediction right at the start of a game, and then that team lost. So you know what? Not gonna change my predictions. I'm gonna stick with what I've said. But I do gotta get your thoughts here, Grubby, on just just thoughts in general. What are you thinking about?
Yeah. I think. I'm just kind of seeing how it unfolds. You got all the standard camps here. You always see the siege camp cap first, for the team that doesn't have the quote-unquote good siege camp location, because that siege camp goes to the same location as the tribute's location, and that means it's not a difficult decision where to go and defend. They're in the same place, and then the team that has the good location of siege camp, they take it second. You can either take it at the 2-minute mark like now and create an imbalance earlier already, or you can really try to sync it up with that tribute. Either way, it's usually Oxygen that's going to be giving up that that first tribute because of that siege camp location. That's just the way that the map RNGs. 1 out of 3 tributes worth giving up, and you see where you take it from there. So in my mind, Oxygen gives up the first tribute, but it doesn't have to be that way, depending on exactly how it goes. We'll see.
Well, we will see Rutso actually... Oh, I thought Rutso was going to go grab the camp, but I'm maybe just checking to see if that camp's invaded. Either way, Medivh sitting at 4 stacks, Diablo at 29 on his souls, Falstad with 12 out of the initial 30. Now, the level 1 for Falstad is uncapped, but you get a nice boost of damage by 15% at that 30 mark, so you actually go from 15% to 30%, and then you continue to scale by 0.5 per stack. And I'm looking around as well. We do have that in the rhythm for the Tychus. And also, last to note, the Dahaka does have the enhanced agility at level 1 as Lauber throws out a Stormbolt. He does have the third wind at level 1, so it's going to allow him to have a higher threshold for healing, as well as a faster self-healing from his passive, as you just saw it activate right there. But 7's looming. Lauber looking for a flank. Will he check the bush? Doesn't need to.
No. Yeah, that's a Nita right now. That's a big combo there on Lauber. Lauber getting away with that bonus movement speed from BBJ. There's a drag tongue, mostly for defense even, I would say, making sure that Lauber doesn't get shadow charged. Madara with the channel. Oh, nice grenade by Rutso, getting the interrupt. The siege camp actually never got taken by Storm.
Yeah.
They preferred to push with the bruiser camp mid instead of taking that siege camp, and so they never created that imbalance that I foreshadowed.
Rutso getting pushed around, but he's got some healing over time. The trap will connect onto Dahaka. Concussion Mine will displace him as well. He gets the burrow into the ground. He also pops his essence. He did go Lurker Strain Dequaza at level 4, so he's got quite a few things with that one. But here's a drag protection. Diablo could get through the portal if he's able to tap the portal.
Wow.
And Diablo goes down. That'll be first blood for the side of Storm Esports. Falstad flies on in, tried to get the Concussion Mine from Junkrat, but the channel comes through from BBJ. First tribute also to the side of our Storm Esports crew.
Yeah, sick kill there on Diablo, using displacement to keep him away from the safety of the portal. All started with that Dequaza drag tongue. Meanwhile, we did have Blaze taking about 20% of the health off the bottom fort. Not entirely without something to show for after that tribute engagement is Oxygen. But they will have to figure out how to get the next tribute. This tribute is fairly well positioned for Oxygen, virtually impossible to steal for Storm without some kind of takedowns, and they follow each other in rapid succession. Has been announced, 25 seconds. Siege camp being taken by Storm. A little bit out of the way of that somewhat mid of the lane-ish tribute, so it could be an issue for Oxygen with that siege camp coming in.
Lauber having to dwarf toss away, as I think Vince did kind of say hello with a little bit of overpower and shadow charge potential, or maybe they just saw each other in the bush. Regardless, Dahaka, I did look, he's got 13 seconds on his brushstroke right now. I don't know if Lauber is feigning, like, oh, my team's right behind me, we're going to step in. Yeah, it was just kind of one of those things, because the rest of his team is nowhere even near Lauber. They're going to be up on this boss in top lane. Dahaka continue to push out bottom to get experience and push towards 10s. Man, I'm liking so far what we've seen so far. And the Fire Stomp build for the Diablo. Pretty standards across the board. I'm not seeing anything that's like, ooh, that's something big to note. What is to note, though, Lauber now has the, like Stitches, he hit level 10. And so the Stormbolt now has the piercing value, cooldown reduction, and as I said, level 13 should be big for the Murden. But actually, let's talk about one oddity here. Grubby.
Haymaker!
Playmaker. Lauber wants to make some plays here.
So Haymaker, more displacement against Medivh's portals. Murden saying, you guys have such reach with portal that most likely you're not going to play kill the tank. Therefore, I don't need to take Avatar. It's better to take more peel, get you away from my backline, and also to disrupt more portal usage. Cool thing about Haymaker, although the impact is single target, anyone that you bowl with that bowling ball also gets thrown about like a set of pins. So if you cast it in the correct direction, you can disrupt several people from trying to use a Medivh portal. And this might just be what it takes. There's plenty of tools for Storm to stop portal usage. Mighty Gust, Soundwave, now Haymaker, Isolation, and the Grenade. So Storm does have good counterplay tools.
Lobber.
Wow, did you see that? BBJ would have gotten Shadow Charged and killed. And they even pinged him in appreciation of that. Did you see that? That's cool.
Just the sound wave perfectly timed. It's things like that. It's not easy to do. It looks easy, but you got to be able to have the intuition to be able to do that. But here comes Nasmus, big jet propulsion. Rutso and BBJ getting very low. Medivh at 20 stacks right now. Madar going for the channel. 1-1 in our channels, as we do have Muradin needing to get the high five. Haymaker was used right there. 40-second cooldown. Grenade from Tychus not stalling out Madara, but he's going to stop for now. Massive shove from Heavy will be able to push people back. Lobber getting very low, getting dove in by Vince. There's going to be the Leyline Seal, the Apocalypse. I think there might have been a bit of a mistime on the Apocalypse Leyline Seal combo, and the Commandeer Odin will be used as we still continue to see this objective phase, which is on the healthier side for Storm, being controlled by Oxygen, but Muradin, Lobber, trying to get in the back line. BBJ amping things up. Rutso on that Falstad, Falstad just looking to angle in with Lobber as well.
Neutral macro situation, so they're fighting willingly over this tribute. Muradin's dropping low on mana. Blaze there with that. Oh, he doesn't use the Arcane Explosion because he went into the bunker. Wanted to limit damage on himself. Both teams about equal in terms of HP. Let's see which ults are available. We got Massive Shove coming back soon. We've got Isolation and probably several instances of High Five available. Though Lucio's dropping dangerously low in mana, I don't know if Storm can keep this up. It's essentially into double support.
Vince gets chunked a little bit. There are some free stacks going over to both sides, to Draded and to IBTings on these two heroes. IBTings hit the 33 stacks already, so he's got that little bit of empowerment. Lobber lanes a Stormbolt onto one. The trickle experience is actually kind of working out for the side of Oxygen as they are closing what the small gap had formed. And this is Storm. Oh my God, they actually get it. Wow. I can't believe there was no interrupt from Junkrat or anything. And now Storm, they're going to hightail it out of here. Falstad, pushes into mid lane a little bit, getting that experience, moving to top immediately, and this will close the gap to 13. For both teams, realistically, the experience should be 13s apiece.
Yeah, really close call for Lucio BBJ to get that channel there. Firestomp not angled correctly to get the interrupt. And that is one tribute more going to Storm Esports. The final tribute in the top left location. Who do you think that's a better position for?
Oh, absolutely in favor for Oxygen Esports. They've got their well just above them still because the boss did not take down that keep. I expect them to get it on the side of Oxygen, and maybe Storm could just play the lanes right now. Instead of trying to make this fight, they just clear out waves and maybe get their own lanes pushed out, because there's camp in bottom, camp in mid, and a camp to clear through mid as well.
Yeah, makes sense. Just have the Haka push with that siege camp in the south side. Maybe a few interrupts as a token delayed. No, you know what? The Haka burrows in, misses the drag tongue.
Okay.
Madara takes so much damage, but a good concussive gets the Haka off his back.
Lobber jumps in as well. Massive Shove will be there from the Stukov as well. Madara trying to throw some damage over the wall. Gust out from Falstad. That isolates the Blaze, and he gets dragged by the Dahaka protection from Medivh, and Nasmus gets away. There's a Leyline Seal. Is there an Apocalypse to follow? Yes. The timing kind of works out right there, but the Commandeer Odin was still poking around the objective. Commandeer Odin does not have much longer. Should fall soon. Heavy will be interrupted. Looks like Lobber and IBTings will tap well. Dequaza trying to clear out the siege camp during all of this. Lobber has that Bronzebeard Rage, and he goes in. He's going to get Massive Shoved immediately. Lucio in the backline trying to push people around. Draded has 27 stacks. Portals forward. There's a lot of damage onto the Dahaka at the top of our screen. Nasmus gets some portaling around. Vince uses BBJ to push back towards his side of the team. Nasmus isolated. Draded 30 stacks. Protection. Draded is going to be the target. Can they get it? He gets 2 stacks as he dies, but that's still 30 stacks lost. Drag onto Diablo. He has full souls. Those souls are reset. Double kill to the side of Storm. Objective phase should be here, but Madara wants to delay out because there's only 20 seconds on the Medivh. Diablo already back. I think they have to give this an eat curse.
Yeah, there are more frag launcher cooldowns, but he would expose himself to Lobber's engage. Great job by Storm. They also had a bit of a macro lead during all that. Siege camp didn't get that much done in the bottom, but the remainder of the Bruiser camp did some good damage on the mid fort. Now, Storm is gonna definitely be able to take down 2 forts, maybe 3, maybe even some keep damage. really big there, that kill on Medivh to resetting his stacks. When he doesn't have the 40 Q stacks, and he doesn't get to have quite as much cooldown reduction on Leyline Seal from the level 16 ability.
Why is Blaze here? Sorry, but I was literally like,
Yeah.
Blaze, like
Well,
Nasmus, like ran down into bottom lane. I guess
Yeah.
maybe they were like, oh, we'll get you out with Portal and stuff. It seemed like he should have gotten punished by that, but either way, he's not going to get punished. The objective phase still has 19 seconds. Storm Esports, they can dive underneath this. Leyline Seal just connects onto one. Falstad flies in. Murden with the flank, focusing onto Medivh. There's a haymaker. Stukov will go down. Portal is out, but the portal is going to be gusted away. Drayden gets hit with an... Oh, no, that's
That's
another...
because of Blaze, right?
Yes, that is honestly because of Nasmus. I am not going to sugarcoat it. A lot of members of Oxygen went into bottom lane to save Blaze. They did save Blaze, but it's at the sacrifice of two. A boss goes over to the side of Storm Esports. Storm Esports, they just got handed a free boss and a double kill.
Yeah, I'm looking at the 1 minute ago.
Yeah.
During where the stream is now,
Sure.
yeah, he was just like super deep proxy clearing. I get that, like the concept of it, I get it. You push out really deep somewhere so that instead of clearing like 2 waves, you clear 3 to 4 waves, and there'll never be a trouble again in that lane. But it has a risk, and it didn't seem like it was really being covered. He hoped somehow that Oxygen would keep Storm busy in the mid, then suddenly that safety net was gone.
That was so insanely well played, and I do believe while these bosses are being pushed into lanes, we actually have that double kill replay, so we can take a look at that in greater detail, Grubby.
And let's take a look at it as we run it back. Okay, so Blaze was still trying to get away. Look at that Falstad flight. He can barrel roll Gust any day of the week, right? Like he can stop people from getting away. And then there's that haymaker that actually hurt Stukov quite a bit and pushed Drayden down. The Gust to follow it up. Portaling, yeah, basically isolating people away from portals. That's what Storm's comp is doing really well. Love what they put together. They knew the potential Medivh pick here after they saw the Diablo.
Yeah.
They've got a lot of heroes that can deal with stuff like that.
Big cojones on the side of Storm Esports to just let that Medivh go through, but looks like they're fine playing into the Medivh right now. We do have the Dehaka pushing up bottom lane with the Siege Giant camp. He has the Brushstock available if he needs to join into the team, but I like what they're doing. Storm Esports, this reminds me of Tomb of the Spider Queen with the 2-level lead we saw for Storm, and just Dayquaza doing split pushing, managing the map, and the rest of Storm grouping up, and as Justin had said and alluded to in a lot of these games, this Death Ball style, it's working out well. It's playing well for the side of Storm, and they're half a level away from 20. And I realistically, I think Oxygen, they just give this. It's not a curse. It's only the first one for the side of Storm. Because I know it's equal talent tiers, but I feel like Storm's been winning out these fights. It's 1-5, and you don't want to just give that experience over immediately. So I think you just clear waves and play it safe, and that's what we're going to see from Oxygen for now.
Yeah, and how does Oxygen get back into this? What did they get at level 20? They get a 50 armor bunker that can now also throw oil. Junkrat gets maybe bigger balls. Diablo, he gets a blink with the Hellgate, the Apocalypse Circle underneath. Medivh gets a moving ley line. That's going to be a big one. That's the first one that maybe tells you and I this could be it. This could be a comeback mechanic. And Stukov's ults level 20 really don't make a big difference. It's not that they're not good, but they're not a comeback tool.
Yeah.
Nothing that he doesn't already have at level 1 anyway. So it's all down to Drayden, I think it's fair to say.
Well, the 20s are already arrived for Storm Esports. They're going to make quick work of this keep front gate through the mid lane. Top lane keep is already very low, but it's just Storm opening up the map as best as they can as Medivh is sitting at 3 stacks. Yes, I did not stutter. 3 stacks. Medivh has lost in, if my math is right, around 38 stacks in this game. So he's, technically he would be done right now if he just didn't die twice. But that's here nor there, Grubby, because slowly Oxygen are closing that gap to 20. And it's not curtains just yet. It still is an uphill battle for the side of Storm Esports. They can't just walk to core and end. They need to get a couple kills, or they need to get a curse and play off of that.
Yeah, boss bottom available in 1 minute and 20 seconds. It's basically after the next tribute has been taken. It's definitely going to be up already. Probably before even it's going to be available. And the bottom boss represents a keep, represents maybe the game. The top boss is a little bit slower. It's 1:45 from now. Storm, they don't want to go back and take that thing that they see on the minimaps, like, oh, there's a camp, let's go for it. They want to do a little bit of extra damage, maybe try to find an opportunity to catch anyone out. As I say that, though, they don't think that window is big enough. They do fall back to the siege camp. Okay, I thought they were actually just going to try to like do 10% damage on the keep.
Got you. I definitely agree with that. A lot of the waves did get pushed into the side of Oxygen Esports, so maybe it's that call like, oh, they're going to get 20, let's just back away, get some camps, and get ready for the next objective, because we all know it's going to be in the top right of the map, or actually this is the center point, excuse me, top center, and maybe, do we listen to some Storm comms here? Maybe some Oxygen? What do you want, Grubby? What flavor do you want?
We do. We go Storm.
Storm it is.
Matter, Rutsu. It doesn't
I
matter.
don't get gone on.
When we can stop forever here with Odin over the wall and stuff if we need to.
Yeah. Need to
I
get
have a
away from
haymaker
that.
opportunities here.
Deal
So.
with bot soon, right? Bot's gonna get a lot of value.
What about if we just give this and just burrow and fly on bottom? We Odin and then we
I don't
just
think most
burrow
of
and
them
fly
can
on
fly
bottom.
We cannot play bottom east. Huh?
Okay. I think we can burrow bottom though.
Sure, I can do that. No,
Yeah, we just
Odin
Odin
now.
to stall.
Okay, I'm going bottom.
Yeah. Just have to make sure we don't get ley line though. That's
I have
it.
got. I'll just stay off you guys.
He doesn't get reset. He doesn't get reset. Yeah, if Asatos plays like this is perfect. This is actually what we want.
Okay, I'm gonna get keep now.
He's gonna ley line maybe here.
I'll die.
Yeah.
We
we're
don't
not
see
gonna-
only
Blaze.
see
Oh wait,
Blaze
Blaze,
left.
Blaze is,
Blaze,
oh
Blaze.
yeah, we can fight.
They're giving, I guess. He missed
guess
his
so.
They're
stall.
not chasing me. They're not chasing me.
This is cursed for us though.
I'm coming back. I'm coming back.
I'm fine.
I'll gust if it looks bad.
Maybe it looks bad.
Gusting. Okay. Can we look Diablo?
That's good. He used blink.
Diablo,
He
no
used blink.
blink.
I'm coming
They used
from
their combo now. They used their combo. Did they outpoke actually?
No.
No.
Fuck's
We
still up.
have taps. We can pre-tap and fight them.
I don't have gust, so they're gonna look
Blaze is
again.
back. Blaze is back.
He doesn't have leyline
I
yet.
think-
He hasn't hit many Qs.
We can flank them with both the tanks here.
Yeah.
Oh, I need help.
I'm
I
fine.
got fucked. That's my bad.
Big guys, big guys, big guys, big
Hey guys, it's huge, Azure. Huge.
Deep.
Deep.
I cancel Taya.
I got him.
Nice.
Going? Can we look?
Okay,
Diablo?
Bunker,
I can
Junker
help.
at 1 HP in bunker.
He's one.
Okay.
I got him.
Yeah, Lucio gets him.
I'm fine.
Go with Diablo.
I'm getting the curse. I'm getting the curse.
Dude, what?
Dashed in.
We can't
I'm
move.
getting the curse. Keep chasing them.
Yeah, we kill him. We end.
Like chase Tukov as well. Chase Tukov as
Yeah.
well.
Yeah. He's took over Diablo if we can.
Oh, BJ's dead.
Oh no, not the classic BBJ on
Uh-huh.
cursed.
Actually,
Fine.
classic.
We trade healers.
Ow!
Oh my god, Ruto's dying
Oh
to
my
fucking
God.
Diablo Q.
Oh, I fucking bowling ball.
Yo. Ah,
He's gonna respawn, by the way.
Yeah, maybe we
Oh,
just
boy.
go now.
I'm
Maybe we just
trouble.
go now. Maybe
Yeah,
I'm trouble.
I think ignoring him is better.
Casting.
I'm peeling.
I
You
think
guys can
we
go
just
forward.
ignore him.
Popping
Go
Odin.
for it.
Let's go
What do you guys
Kurabi.
do?
Let's go Kurabi.
He's gonna respawn after you
fucking
kill him anyway.
Yeah, that's why we leave it at 1 HP.
Yeah, I'm gonna. You guys go. I will just fuck with him. I'm not gonna kill him. I'm just gonna fuck.
Well, I think your next button's gonna kill him.
So it's always fun to listen in on the comms for Storm Esports, but they are going to shut down Oxygen on map number 4. Oh boy, Grubby, I got the math for you. The rough math, because I didn't see one of the stack losses. Medivh lost 43 stacks.
Yeah, and Oxygen lost 3 maps.
Yeah,
Perhaps even a bigger deal.
that might be a little bit bigger of a deal actually. But Justin, are we missing anything here? Can you come on back and break things down from Curse Hollow?
The playmaker, Lauber, popping off that game. I really like to see that he pivoted into the Haymaker. He knows that the damage from Oxygen is super light. That's something I touched on a bit, is that they don't really have a ton of damage with Blaze, Junkrat, and Medivh. There's not a ton of follow-up to really go off of. And that game was honestly just, I think a lot of it just came down to Lauber versus Vince on the Diablo and the Muradin. Lauber took debatably the correct build. I would have preferred to see the slow at level 7. He goes Skullcracker even if he's not Avatar, which is okay, but I think it's probably worse because you don't really get to just survive in the backline with Haymaker like you do when you have Avatar. But he still made it work. Everything else was correct. I really didn't like the W build coming out from Diablo. I think if you have a Medivh, there's really no reason to go Spell Shield. It's quite redundant. And even if there was no Medivh, going the Spell Shield level 1 seems kind of bad anyways when you have Falstad Tychus. Like, there's not a lot of spell damage on the side of Storm Esports. If you're dying as Diablo, it's going to be 2% damage and auto attacks from the Falstad and the Tychus. So being the full W build, that's like it's a really passive, safe, slow playstyle for Diablo. And you really need, in this composition, your Diablo kind of needs to be your hyper carry. So I would like to see him go the auto attack build so that he can really carry the game. Whereas the Ws, they're nice in a slow fight, but they don't really contribute. It doesn't turn him into a threat. And when Blaze isn't a threat, and Junkrat against Muradin and Dahaka aren't a threat, you don't really have a clear hyper carry for the Medivh comp. And that was really felt, I'd say, in the late game team fights where Lauber on the Muradin with the Haymaker, the displacement was super strong against the Medivh. You can see it here, the Falstad Gust, the Haymaker. Displacement is what Medivh hates the most, and they used it very, very well. Between the Gust and the Haymaker, there was the top lane fight at the very end there that won them the game where it looked like Muradin was going to die. Even Lauber said in comms he thought he was going to die, and they just don't do enough damage, so he somehow manages to just survive. He goes bowling for Draded with the Haymaker, gets the kill with it. He was popping off in comms, it was so loud it didn't even really come through on the broadcast. And they just completely wiped the fight with them there at that last fight. With the isolation, it just felt as the game progressed, as the scaling took place for the side of Storm Esports, it really felt like there was just nothing to do for Oxygen at the end of that game. Storm Esports just coming to play, with the exception of that one loss to the Weird Cheese Abathur comp. Storm Esports looking incredibly strong.
Storm Esports looking very, very strong, and we have the main tank player, Lauber, on the line right now to start talking about that series. Lauber, my friend, how are you feeling after beating Oxygen Esports in map number 4 on Cursalo?
Pretty good. That was fun. It was a fun game. I got to play Haymaker Muradin, which I enjoy. You know, I'm a bit famous for that one. Also playing Muradin with one hand, but I decided I shouldn't do this game, but maybe next game.
Oh, yeah. It's a little serious, but any questions for Lauber, Justin?
Yeah, why the Haymaker that game in particular? I think I have a good understanding of why, but I want to hear it from you, and so you can kind of explain it to the viewers at home why you would go Haymaker in that game as opposed to other games.
Haymaker that game is because they have kind of low damage to kill me. I can only die if I get into the Stuck of Silence, and then I'm not going to be able to pop Avatar anyways, so I'm just going to die. So I know they're gonna probably focus my backline, and also if I get focused I have like Falstad to just Gust and I'm fine. And then it's really good versus Medivh Portal. Let's say we like stun someone and we drill them and then they get away with 20 HP. They can't do that because I'm just gonna Haymaker them away from the portal, and we keep them like that. Also, as you saw, that you can also Haymaker the tank into where the portal is ending to snipe off the low targets as well, like I did on the Medivh.
There's more layers to just then it's a playmaker and it's the best talent in the game. I see you, Lauber. I'll have to start practicing.
I mean that's
myself.
the first thing. It's like the best ult and it's a playmaker, but
yeah.
Also, when you have like a bad team like I do with Storm, I have to pick like the damage talent. Just like Yasuo, I have to go like colossal. You know.
Okay. Oh god. Grubby, any questions for Lauber?
I have two questions, one personal and one about your next match. The personal one is if you would have the mustache. No, I must. If you mustache about it, but the first one is if you were killing a range damage by accident, would you say that it was on purpose with the Haymaker?
That was definitely on purpose. Did you see how I was hovering with Diablo all the time? Don't try to take this away from me, Grubby, okay? That's 100% on purpose.
Yeah. And now that you guys have gotten this match, and there's a lot of questions, but we want to give you guys a chance to like recharge your batteries and go into the next match. My next question is about your next match. You lost the Diamond Hands 2-3 in the regular season. What's going to be different this time?
We're just not gonna start trolling, and Rutsu is probably never gonna be able to play Falstad ever again. Ivy's gonna play that. Just gonna make sure that. Also, you know, we have pretty good result in them versus Scrims. So it should be a 3-1, pretty good one. Just where we just don't want to get cheesed like the Abba Samuro or whatever they're pulling out. Medivh, fucking Sul. Whatever. Oh, swore. Whatever. Happens.
Before
that all the time.
you're talking.
It's okay. We listen to your comms as well. It's great.
I heard yesterday from an interview with BBJ that apparently there's some rumblings about Cho Gulls and stuff like that. Is that true, or is BBJ trolling me?
I've heard that a lot of people wants to play Shugal in like the in-houses we're doing, in like the high elo. I haven't played them myself because they're too late in the night, but I've heard like people are like, because we're banned Shugal in the in-house, and few guys from Diamond Hands are like upset that we're that those are banned because they want to play Shugal. So we will see.
So
maybe
it's gonna happen.
I don't know.
It's gonna
I'm just
happen.
gonna. I mean, they can Shugal us. I'm just gonna haymaker them away.
All right. Well, I'm excited to see that. And as Grubby said, we don't want to take up too much of your time because you do have another match coming up. Before we let you get out of here, Lauber, rest up and get some water, any shoutouts that you'd like to give? The floor is yours.
Yeah, shout out to my team. They played amazing. They've started listening more, and we're playing more like we're not getting caught as much like when we're rotating and stuff. So that's good to know. They've improved. Also, shout out to Storm. Shout out to Twitch chat, of course, and shout out to my girlfriend.
Oh, thank you for joining us, Lauber. Congratulations on your victory, but I know you guys are not done just yet. Enjoy a little bit of a rest, and we'll see you up against Diamond Hands in a little bit.
Bye.
Thanks for joining us. Alrighty, well, that is our first best of 5 of the day. As you can see at the bottom of the screen, it was Oxygen 1, Storm Esports 3. So Oxygen Esports, they'll be taking 6th place in HeroesCCL. But as I mentioned, and as you just saw at the bottom of our screen, the ticker just swapped over, and we're going to be seeing Diamond Hands go up against Storm Esports. But as always, we got to have a little bit of a break. We're going to bring our wonderful, amazing interview host, Kyle Ferguson, back on stream, and he is going to be interviewing, I noted this earlier, Diamond Hands Kelsier to talk about the upcoming matchup. Now, Kelsier didn't know who he's going to be going up against, so he's probably going to be talking about the potential of anyone that he could be seeing, or maybe even his expectations. So we're going to have that wonderful interview, but 2 quick things in the break as well. While this interview is going on, I'd like you to hit ! prize pool, so that way you can get yourself over to the match arena. If we hit $12,000, we are going to get another little hint from Grubby about the song he wrote, and we've got one hint so far. It's about Illidan, and when we hit 15K, he'll actually perform the song here on HeroesCCL for all of you at home. The second thing I want you to do during this interview, you can, throw the interview on one screen, and then maybe you can throw the award nominations on the other. You can use ! awards in chat to vote for the HeroesCCL Awards show that is going to be happening on January 29th at our normal HeroesCCL start time. But as I said, we got that really awesome interview with Kyle Ferguson and Diamond Hands Kelsier coming at you in just a second. Don't go anywhere. This is HeroesCCL presented by Wisdom.